2020 might not have been the best year to travel, so what better way to explore the world virtually than learning all about regional foods and how they're made? Here's a compilation of 14 regional eats and 14 incredible food producers we met with this year.
We're in Saint-Malo, Brittany, France, and we're about to visit Bordier, a traditional maison de beurre or butter house. When you picture butter, you probably think of a yellow block in a plastic bag. Well, not here. Here, butter is done artisanally. Everything is churned, kneaded, and shaved by hand. And I can't wait to see that. Let's go.
In February, we met with Jenny Bordier, son and grandson of butter and cheese makers who brought back to France the 19th century technique of Malaxage, using this big wooden wheel to knead the butter. To Geneviève, the Malaxage is a more romantic way to make butter.
Je suis toujours parti du principe que ce qui était le plus important, c'était les émotions. Après, on va essayer de voir comment on peut faire avec les émotions. Mais si on fait un produit que marketing, ça ne m'intéresse pas. Comme ça ne m'intéresse pas de produire 10 millions de tonnes de beurre, ce n'est pas mon métier. Moi, je suis un tout petit bonhomme et je fais des toutes petites choses, c'est tout.
The Malaxage is really what makes Bordier butter unique. These are 50 kilo blocks of butter extracted from milk, and are pretty standard in the butter making industry, even for the most artisanal. But while everyone else will use huge centrifuges to filter out the last remaining drops of buttermilk, butter at the Bordier workshop is flattened by a wooden wheel and worked by hand by Eric.
Là, ce qu'on va faire, c'est qu'on va vous montrer un malaxage complet. On va découper ces cubes de beurre et on va le transformer. Voilà.
Let's do it.
Little by little, the Malaxage is going to give butter a new life. Dating back to the late 19th century, this tool was first used to rework different butters. At Bordier, it also helps give butter the desired texture.
C'est le plus mauvais moment de l'année pour le malaxage, puisque le beurre, la qualité de la texture du beurre, n'est que le résultat de ce que mangent les animaux. En hiver, les animaux mangent du fourrage, ce qui va donner des beurres blancs, friables, cassants, sans grande odeur. Vous voyez la vis ici, elle est légèrement humide, mais elle n'est pas encore complètement trempée. On est sur des beurres secs. Alors petit à petit, le beurrier est en train de rendre les choses plus agréables à travailler.
Et le bois, ça vous aide...
Le bois ou le métal, c'est un geste mécanique, peu importe. Par contre, c'est plus agréable, c'est plus joli, c'est... Voilà, c'est important que ce soit beau dans la vie.
Oui,
hein?
Oui, c'est vrai.
C'est très dur ce qu'il fait là. C'est très dur ce qu'il fait, Eric, là. C'est le moment le plus dur, c'est... Et là, il obtient un beurre remarquable et franchement, il n'était pas facile. Hein.
Là, tu vas juste le rouler comme ça. Essayer de l'enrouler comme ça. On va le laisser tourner et après tu vas le reprendre.
It's like no way we'll do this. Comme ça?
Tu le roules, ouais.
Comme ça? Oh, wow, super.
Encore. Les gants, ils sont trop grands.
Let me just go this way, maybe.
Tu lèves.
Oh man, this is going super fast.
Tu ramènes le bras. Sinon, tu la mets tout.
Ok.
Tu le fais une fois et après, juste en haut. Tu laisses ton doigt comme ça.
Ah, ok.
Juste
Ça
aller.
marche. C'est
Ça,
plus
ça va.
petit. C'est plus petit.
Mais ici.
Ici?
C'est bon.
And when you see him doing that, it almost has like an harmony. It's not easy. Monsieur Bordier said this is 50 kilos of butter. So try and lift a bit of it. It's going to be like what, 10 kilos just in one go? Il faut combien de temps pour apprendre à ramasser le
pour
beurre
apprendre
comme ça?
ce métier, 3 ans.
3 ans.
Oui. Vous savez pourquoi?
Non, pourquoi?
Parce que le soleil et la pluie ne tombent pas de la même manière tous les ans. Et c'est le soleil et la pluie qui vont donner à l'herbe et à la terre un goût particulier que les vaches doivent aimer et que les saisons vont mettre en musique. Le printemps, l'été, l'automne, l'hiver. Et que pour apprendre à découvrir le beurre, qui n'est que le résultat de la nourriture des animaux, il faut 3 ans.
Eric then salts the butter using fine salt. This step is crucial to make sure the butter finally rejects all the leftover water it has in it.
On est en train de voir, vous voyez, quelque chose. La vis est en train de se tremper, l'eau est en train de couler, le sel est en train d'attaquer la molécule de matière grasse et la molécule de matière grasse prend le sel comme une agression et rejette l'eau qu'elle a en elle. Et l'eau s'en va. On va avoir perdu presque 1 litre d'eau.
Okay.
Mais, et je finis en perdant l'humidité, je concentre la matière sèche. Dans la matière sèche, il y a le gras et dans le gras, il y a le goût.
Oh wow. So actually I can see that it's getting wetter and wetter. It's picking up more water.
Vous entendez le bruit? Quand mon beurre chante, c'est qu'il pleure. Quand mon beurre pleure, c'est qu'il chante.
According to Geneviève, they work with old techniques, but they're not trying to recreate an old recipe.
On travaille avec des méthodes d'hier, mais on utilise un lait vivant d'aujourd'hui. Donc le beurre que je fabrique, le but de mon beurre n'est pas d'aller retrouver le beurre de 1857. Ce que fait Eric, c'est véritablement quelque chose qui n'existe plus. Ce que vous voyez là, c'est des gestes du 19e avec un lait de 2020 et c'est comment restituer et perpétuer la qualité de nos anciens, mais en vivant dans le monde d'aujourd'hui. Donc, je vais prendre un tout petit morceau.
Big one? Ah non.
Non, 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 like this, ok. Voilà. C'est passé le temps. It's very salt.
It's softer than the butter I'm used to.
24 heures plus tard, le beurre d'hier.
It's much sweeter, this one.
Le sel s'atténue, le sel ne disparaît pas, mais son intensité diminue. Et par contre, le goût de la crème est plus important. Un bon beurre ne doit jamais être mangé en sortie de baratte ou de Malaxage plateau. Il doit être mangé 3, 4, 5 jours après. Parce que les équilibres, l'harmonie des goûts se met en place. Les cannelures, les stries que l'on voit dans le beurre sont la preuve que ce beurre a bien été fabriqué chez nous. C'est la reproduction de la vis cannelée. Et ça, c'est la preuve irréfutable.
Parce que vous êtes le seul à l'avoir.
Bourdieu also makes flavored butters, including chili butter, buckwheat butter, vanilla butter, and more.
Vous faites aussi du beurre avec des algues?
Oui. Ça a été mon premier beurre composé en 1985. C'est un beurre un peu particulier qui est intéressant parce qu'il est à la fois très coloré et en même temps extrêmement parfumé. Et je vous laisse le goûter, vous fermez les yeux. Fermez les yeux, voilà. Fermez les yeux. Vous n'avez pas de problème. Fermez les yeux, vous n'avez pas... Ça va? Vous n'avez pas les pieds mouillés. Parce que ça arrive souvent avec le beurre aux algues qu'on ait les pieds mouillés. Ça va?
Yeah, very fresh. It's very fresh and yeah, it tastes like seaweed, but yeah, it's not fishy at all. It's nice and sweet. It really reminds you of that like seaside wind when you just sit there at the beach and you can smell it. It's something like that. Whoop, what's up?
Il y a des mouettes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're just like I've been catapulted into the picture now.
C'est une odeur terrible.
It's marvelous.
It's marvelous.
It's really, yeah, it's really incredible. And so, and this one is your like signature from Brittany because you're from this region.
It's the roots of my identity. Ça, c'est une vraie identité, comme le beurre au sarrasin. il faut que ce soit comme ça. Et puis si je vais au Japon, c'est comme ça que j'ai découvert le yuzu. Si je vais ailleurs, je ne sais pas. Peut-être un jour, si je vais sur Mars, je ferai un beurre tout vert. Je ne sais pas.
No. I would like to taste that then.
After it's ready, each stack of freshly churned butter is then placed into this butter cutter, another machine signature to Bordier.
Il était très important qu'au moment de faire les modèles, nous n'ayons pas de machine qui soit violente, mais qui soit très douce. Or, ce petit poussoir, les mottes de beurre qui viennent d'être faites vont dans le poussoir et tout simplement par un effet de vérin sont poussées ici et grâce à cet appareil qui date du 19e, par l'écartement de chaque corde de guitare, nous avons le grammage désiré.
There's a lot of water,
Il y a toujours de l'eau.
yeah. So this means that there's still water that's coming out of the butter.
Ma méthode traditionnelle, il y a toujours de l'eau. Nous ne rajoutons pas d'eau. Au contraire, on en enlève.
Cette machine, est-ce que vous êtes le seul à l'avoir?
Ah oui, ça, alors là pour le coup, oui. Et on l'a encore utilisée, cette machine-là, il y a 250 ans. Vous voulez que je vous montre où? Pendant la Révolution française. On appelle ça une Marie-Antoinette. Je vais vous interpréter une œuvre du 18e pour harpe et beurre.
Oh non. So 50 kilos de beurre. Hein?
Regarde,
Oh
il en
non.
reste.
The only thing that is left is shaping, and just like the rest, it is all done by hand. Each shape and size is custom. Some chefs may order these bite-sized shapes, others may just buy the whole stack and cut it themselves.
C'est des modèles uniques. Il n'y a pas de machine ici. Nous sommes des êtres humains. Vous voyez, avec le petit pompon.
Ok.
C'est extrêmement rare, il est tout seul à le faire. Et là, pareil, vous voyez, c'est des modèles rares. Il y a plusieurs tailles.
Ça ressemble à une construction qu'on a en Italie, en fait, dans ma région.
Ah, c'est vrai?
Oui. Est-ce que vous connaissez Albero Bello?
Oui.
C'est ça. Est-ce qu'il y a une différence entre les objets qu'il utilise?
Il peut y en avoir, oui. Je t'arrête. Déjà, il y a une partie striée, une partie lisse. Là, elle est petite, là, elle est grande. Et à chaque fois, la main de l'homme ou de la femme va travailler comme ça, comme ça, comme ça. Ça dépend. C'est un métier, hein. Merci.
Est-ce qu'il y a une raison particulière pour laquelle vous avez cette forme très petite?
De faire ça d'abord, parce qu'en fait, si on prenait un morceau, voilà, voilà, vas-y, fais-le. Alors en fait, il y a des craquelures partout, alors que là, il n'y en a plus. Voilà, c'est la qualité de la texture et le visuel, l'esthétique en fait. Hein. Mais nous avons fait énormément d'études. Hein. Nous sommes des scientifiques du tapé du beurre. Donc actuellement, le match est entre Lucienne l'embobineuse, Fred le mastiqueur.
There's something in this butter.
Mon grand-père avait fait le même métier bien avant. Et j'avais toujours entendu dire que ce métier était difficile, compliqué, voilà. Mais j'ai un défaut. Je fais toujours le contraire de ce qu'on me dit. Et comme ça, je peux comprendre. Et en fait, je suis tombé amoureux. Aujourd'hui, il y a peut-être 2% de la production beurrière qui se fait en baratte. Tout le reste fait avec des butirateurs, des canons à beurre. Hein. Il faut nourrir le plus grand nombre. C'est très important. Hein. Mais je pense que, vous voyez, effectivement, si dans l'endroit où nous sommes, on remplaçait tous mes collaborateurs, tous mes compagnons par des machines, on irait beaucoup plus vite, on gagnerait certainement beaucoup plus d'argent, mais il ne se passerait plus rien ici. Si j'ai fait ce métier, c'est aussi pour qu'il se passe quelque chose. S'il n'y a plus rien, ça ne m'intéresse pas. Amen.
We're in Seine-et-Marne in France, in the birthplace of Brie. And actually, we're not far from Paris. We're like 12 kilometers from Disneyland Paris. But here, it's another type of theme park. We are at the Farm de Trentarpin, which is one of the 7 farms making Brie de Meaux. And the only one that makes it fermier, which means from the farm, which means that the cows are milked here and the cheese is just made 100 meters from here. Quelle est la race de la vache?
C'est la race Primostein, qui est la race laitière par excellence. Voilà, et puis elle parle beaucoup aussi, elle s'exprime.
The farm has 250 cows in total. After milk is collected, it is stored in these vats for 18 hours and some part of its cream is taken out while some natural ferments are added. These include penicillium and geothrium, which make up Brie de Meaux's signature texture and flavor. But more on that later. One day after being collected, milk is moved to another room where it will be split into curds. This is done thanks to the addition of rennet, which takes about 1 hour to solidify the milk.
Le lait est dur là. Vous voyez, là, on le voit, il est pris en masse là.
In this other room, it was so hot that our camera steamed up and we had to wait a bit to resume filming.
Il y a trop de fumée.
Il faut attendre un peu. Mais là, oui, c'est compliqué. Ça prend un petit peu de temps.
C'est quelle température ici?
30 degrés là.
30 degrés. Okay.
Alors vous allez voir, le moulage, c'est quelque chose de physique. Il faut 2 heures. Il y a 4 ou 5 personnes qui font le moulage. Au bout de 2 heures, 2 heures à faire ça, vous allez voir, c'est fatigant.
Vous pouvez m'expliquer qu'est-ce que vous êtes en train de faire?
Donc là, je prends mon cahier, je pose tout doucement dans le moule. Et là, je vais tourner au fur et à mesure. Je tourne dans la bassine et je tourne dans le moule. Et je pose mes pelles de cahier tout doucement. Voilà. Je tourne et là, je tourne.
Et quel outil utilisez-vous?
C'est la pelle en inox, la pelle à brie.
Ok. Donc ça, c'est spécifique du bruit.
Oui. Ça, c'est la méthode traditionnelle.
Donc, est-il important de mouler à la main?
Oui, parce qu'il faut déposer... en fait, c'est des pelles assez régulières, pas trop grosses, pas trop fines, et il faut poser assez délicatement. Il ne faut pas jeter le cahier, parce qu'autrement, les morceaux les cubes, après, ça s'écrase. Et c'est pas bon pour le fromage. Ça ne fera pas du bon produit.
Et combien de cahiers mettez-vous dans les bassines ici?
Là, on va mettre, là, on a 70 litres de lait. On va partager dans 3 moules.
En bassine, elle fait 3 bris de Meaux.
Chaque jour, on travaille 3 jours de lait. On prépare le lait du lendemain, on moule le lait de la journée et on démoule les fromages de la veille.
Pourquoi est-il important de maintenir le lait cru?
Le fait de chauffer le lait peut amener à détruire quelques particularités du lait, des éléments de goût, des éléments de texture, toutes ces choses-là. Et donc, il est de bon ton de penser que tous les fromages au lait cru sont plus goûteux, plus fermiers, et voilà. Et donc, tous les bris de Meaux sont faits au lait cru.
The mold is made of 3 layers, which are removed gradually as the cheese loses its liquid. From 25 liters of liquid, it's going to get smaller and smaller up until 5 liters. This is going to take 3 hours. And at the end of the whole making process, the weight of the cheese is going to be 3 kilos.
Là, c'est des fromages, ils ont été moulés ce matin, vers 7h moins le quart, on a démarré ce matin. Donc là, il va être 11h moins 20, moins le quart, oui, ça fait 3 heures. Entre 3h et 3h30 pour arriver au moule.
Le premier, ok.
Ouais.
Et il continue à perdre de liquide en fait.
Oui, jusqu'à demain.
On their first day, cheeses in molds are turned 3 times with the help of a steel plate to make sure they hold their shape. They are then piled up on top of each other.
Et donc ici, en fait, on retrouve le même dessin du bois.
Oui.
Où il était
C'est du
posé.
jonc.
Oh, ok.
C'est pas du bois, c'est du jonc.
Oh.
On utilise le jonc, c'est une méthode très ancienne. C'est spécifique au brie de Meaux, avec du jonc, donc, qui est nettoyé, désinfecté tous les jours, qui est stérilisé tous les jours, on change tous les jours. Et ça permet de bien maintenir le moule avec le crier, avec la plaque en dessous. Ça glisse pas beaucoup. Ça reste stable. Autrement, on peut mettre des plastiques, mais le problème c'est que ça glisse.
Et aussi, ça vous permet de faire passer un peu de liquide
Oui,
aussi.
ça absorbe. Ça va dedans, ça va dedans. Là, c'est bien pris, on voit, ça coule.
Oh, wow.
The cheeses stay in the molds for 24 hours to make sure they drain all their liquid. In total, the farm will make about 300 wheels of brie de Meaux, ladled from 100 basins. The day after, the cheeses are removed from molds and salted.
Ça, c'est le brie de Meaux d'hier. Donc celui-là, demain, à la même heure, il sera comme ça.
Oh, wow.
Et là, on a mis du sel dessus. Si vous touchez dessus, on peut sentir le sel. Allez-y, mettez votre doigt là. On peut sentir, il y a du sel dessus un petit peu.
Oh, oui, c'est vrai. I have some salt crystals. No, it doesn't smell like it.
Ils vont passer une journée ici. Et là, il fait environ 18 degrés. On est dans la phase descendante de la température.
Oui, je peux le sentir.
Oui.
C'est vachement plaisant.
Alors, le salage va permettre de finir l'égouttage en fait. Et donc, on place les fromages en pente comme ça pour que le sérum s'égoutte le long des grilles et tombe sur le côté pour ne pas que le premier s'égoutte sur le suivant. Sinon, celui dessous sera complètement trempé. Alors, si on peut en manger, là, ça n'a pas très bon goût.
Il faut attendre.
Voilà, il faut commencer l'affinage. Alors, il passe une journée ici et vous allez voir dans la prochaine salle, c'est l'odeur qui est importante. Voilà. Et là,
Wow, yeah, it smells very differently. It's strong, it's tangy.
yeah, we can smell nuts and apples. Vous voyez?
It smells like apples.
Cheese wheels are then moved to another room where they stay for 5 to 7 days, within which they're going to be turned 3 times to avoid collapsing. Here they start to get whiter, and it's where we start to see the first effects of the ferments added to the milk at the beginning.
Donc ce fromage-là, il y a combien de semaines?
Voilà, alors celui-ci c'est un fromage qui a 4 semaines aujourd'hui. Pour le brie de Meaux, donc le minimum d'affinage c'est 4 semaines pour prétendre être un brie de Meaux. Chez nous, on prend notre temps. Et donc en général, on est en moyenne d'affinage entre 7 et 8 semaines chez nous.
Ok.
Voilà. Et donc là, on peut voir sur ce fromage, donc le pénicillium, c'est vraiment ce feutrage blanc qu'on peut voir ici, comme ça. Et ici, on a le développement du géotrichum,
Ok.
qui est un autre ferment. Et on voit qu'ils font leur travail, puisque déjà, voilà, le fromage,
Oh.
il s'affine et devient plus crémeux. Voilà.
Et donc il faut les ajouter ensemble, les deux,
Voilà.
les deux ferments, le geotrichum et le pénicillium.
Ils vont travailler chacun leur tour un petit peu, plutôt le pénicillium en premier, et ensuite le géotrichum, et c'est eux qui vont assurer l'affinage du fromage aussi. Here, 8 degrees.
Cold. It is cold.
This is the last room of the maturation process, and it is another cold one.
Yeah, 8 degrees.
Ici,
Oh,
on est à 6.
6. Oh, I'm dead. It's 6 degrees in this. So cold. C'est ça, d'ailleurs, différentes saisons.
C'est vrai.
Ici, c'est l'hiver.
Et alors, ce qui est important pour un fromage, c'est qu'on part haut en température et on diminue tranquillement. En
Ok.
général, on descend par en dessous. Parce qu'après, c'est un frigo et
Oui.
ça n'évolue plus, quoi. Voilà. Et donc là, voilà, nous avons un fromage qui est prêt à la commercialisation, qui est bien
Can I
affiné.
touch? Okay.
Oui, bien sûr.
You can feel the hard crust outside, the rind, and then inside you can feel that it's very, very, very soft. Ça, c'est 7 semaines.
7 semaines d'affinage.
Et combien pèse-t-il?
Voilà, un fromage comme ça, dans le cahier des charges, c'est 3 kilos entre 2,8 kg et 3,2 kg d'eau.
Et ça, c'est une caractéristique aussi de brie d'amande, non?
45% de matière grasse également. C'est pour ça, vous vous souvenez, au départ, on enlève une partie de la crème. C'est pour qu'à la fin, il fasse ces 45% de matière grasse.
Ok.
Quand on fait un plateau de fromage, ou quand des gens nous achètent un brie de Meaux, on dit qu'un brie de Meaux est fait pour 50 personnes.
50 personnes.
Voilà.
Ah, je croyais moi. Non.
Vous êtes une grosse consommatrice. Hein.
Oui, moi j'aime le fromage.
Une vache comme ça va donner entre 25 et 30 litres de lait par jour pour faire un brie de Meaux. Puisqu'un brie de Meaux, c'est 25 litres à peu près.
Oh, ok.
Et donc, une vache, un fromage par jour, c'est à peu près la vérité. On essaie de maîtriser la filière de la fourche à la fourchette, comme on dit. Et donc voilà, l'idée c'est de faire le maximum de choses nous-mêmes. Et donc ça, c'est la nourriture qui est produite sur le domaine. Et on peut retrouver des morceaux de maïs, des morceaux de paille, des morceaux d'herbe. Voilà. Et tout ça, c'est un mélange. On a de la luzerne également dedans. Et on a également un peu de betterave. Voilà, ça, c'est des morceaux de betterave. Voilà. Il faut lui mettre un micro peut-être. Il existe une tradition avec le brie de Meaux. C'est qu'il faut toujours couper le brie de Meaux de la pointe vers l'extérieur. On ne coupe jamais la pointe du brie de Meaux. Certains disent que ça porte malheur. À la vôtre.
So creamy. So creamy and buttery.
J'aime ce goût de noisette, un petit peu. On retrouve de noisette ou de beurre.
But actually, it's very sweet. I would say probably sweeter than how it would have been if it had been only 4 weeks old. Baguettes. Can you name a more quintessential French food? The recipe is quite simple. You just need flour, water, yeast, and salt. Yet here in France, it's not just any loaf of bread that anybody can make at home. We're in Paris, in the 14th district, and we're about to meet with Mahmoud Msedi. He's an artisanal baker, son of a baker, who's been making bread basically ever since he can remember. This is his shop. Let's walk in.
Mahmoud is a master of bread. Look at this giant loaf! He even won an award for the best baguette in Paris. What he's going to show us is not your average baguette, but the baguette tradition, which is a baguette made on site with simple ingredients.
La baguette tradition est différente parce qu'elle a un procédé différent des autres pains en fait. C'est quelque chose qu'on ne peut pas faire vite. Si on ne respecte pas le temps, eh ben, on n'aura jamais une bonne tradition. Et c'est pour ça qu'elle est unique et c'est pour ça aussi qu'elle est connue.
Making a baguette is much more complex and time-consuming than you'd think. Every step requires inside knowledge, skill and expertise. It all starts with the dough. Mahmoud starts making the dough at 5 a.m. with only flour and water. Kneaded, then at 8 a.m. he adds yeast and salt and water again.
L'eau, c'est pour par exemple contrôler la température. Si par exemple ma pâte est trop froide, je vais rajouter de l'eau chaude. Si elle est trop chaude, je vais rajouter de l'eau froide. Ça me permet de récupérer en fait, d'avoir à chaque fois la température la même tous les jours. Donc, donne un gant à madame, mais touchez. Vous allez voir, elle est très froide.
Oh ouais, c'est très très froid.
Voilà. C'est pour ça que nous, on va mettre de l'eau chaude ici. Parce que aujourd'hui, il fait très froid. Et nous, on pétrit dans la boulangerie, pas au sous-sol. La plupart des boulangeries, ils pétrissent au sous-sol. Donc, il fait souvent chaud au sous-sol. Mais nous, non, on est obligé de s'adapter parce que s'il fait froid, eh ben, ma pâte elle va être trop froide. S'il fait très chaud, ma pâte va être très chaude. Donc, je vais devoir à chaque fois réajuster. Okay. Je m'adapte en fonction du temps, en fait, the weather.
Sa pâte, elle a reposé pour
3 heures, c'est ça. Donc, elle prend la température extérieure.
Parfait. Est-ce qu'il y a une température idéale ou...
Oui, à la sortie, 24. Quand je sors ma pâte, l'idéal c'est 24 degrés. Le plus important, c'est le mélange. Si on réussit le mélange, on réussit toute la production. Il faut que la pâte soit lisse.
On ne pourrait jamais ajouter tous les ingrédients comme ça, tout ensemble.
Bah, c'est déconseillé. C'est comme de la cuisine ou les gâteaux, on ne met jamais tout d'un coup. On surveille toujours le mélange et on réajuste à chaque fois. Parce que ce qui compte, c'est le résultat. Déjà, on entend les bulles qui commencent à...
You can hear the sounds of the dough.
sais pas si vous entendez les bulles s'éclater. Cloc.
Combien de temps il faut, selon vous, pour apprendre à connaître la pâte comme vous
Moi,
faites?
j'ai eu la chance, c'est que mon père, il est boulanger. Donc j'ai grandi dans le milieu. Donc je l'ai regardé quand j'étais petit travailler. Donc c'est devenu une habitude maintenant. Mais sinon, un bon boulanger, il lui faut au moins 10 ans d'expérience. Voilà.
Et vous m'avez juste dit que vous êtes en train d'ouvrir une autre boulangerie au Canada.
Oui.
Est-ce qu'il y a... Bon, bien sûr, il y a des différences de température.
Oui,
et
ça va
de-
être nouveau pour
de
moi,
climat.
ça sera une expérience pour moi. Je sais qu'il fait très très froid au Canada, que par exemple, il y a des jours où il fait moins 10, moins 20 peut-être. On n'a jamais ça à Paris. Donc ça va être nouveau pour moi. Il va falloir faire chauffer l'eau avec la casserole. Donc là, vous voyez, elle colle pas sur le bord. C'est arrondi. Vous pouvez toucher. C'est mou et à la fois ferme.
Ok. Oh, ah ouais, c'est vrai. L'extérieur, c'est très ferme, mais on a...
Et en même temps, c'est comme
ça
une balle.
peut- oui,
Voilà.
oui.
Vous pouvez taper, vous voyez, c'est dur et en même temps, c'est mou.
Oui. C'est vraiment comme ça.
Oui. Donc ça veut dire que mon réseau, il est constitué et en même temps, c'est moelleux. Donc là, à la fin, je vais avoir une tradition avec une belle croûte parce qu'elle est dure et en même temps, ça sera moelleux à l'intérieur. Ça, c'est très très bien. Donc nous, on va mettre un petit coup de deuxième pour lui donner un peu plus de force. Vous entendez? Là, il y a des bulles d'air qui se forment et elles vont éclater. Et c'est comme ça qu'on sait que la pâte, elle est prête. Donc là, vous avez vu, ça colle là. Voilà. On va la laisser se reposer. Là, il y a une bulle d'air.
C'est l'air
C'est ce
que
qu'on
nous
trouve
retrouvons
dans les
la
tradis
baguette.
après.
Oh.
Voilà, on va trouver. Et donc, ce qui fait la différence, c'est qu'il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont des bulles d'air, soit toutes petites. Moi, on va avoir toutes les tailles. Vous allez voir après, quand on ouvrira une, on aura des petites, des grosses, des moyennes, toutes les tailles.
Est-ce qu'il y a un message
Quand c'est petit, c'est comme tout le monde. Quand c'est irrégulier, c'est personnel. C'est pour ça que la tradie, on la trouve. La mienne, on peut pas la trouver ailleurs.
Vous ne pouvez pas contrôler la taille de bulles d'air.
Je ne peux pas
non.
contrôler, mais je peux faire en sorte d'avoir des bulles irrégulières. Ça, c'est un de mes secrets, ça.
When the dough is ready, it rests for 1 hour. Then it is taken out in small batches.
Donc les gens font avec la farine, nous on fait avec l'eau. C'est plus propre et c'est les anciennes méthodes.
Pourquoi pas de farine? Parce qu'on va
meilleur.
modifier l'harmonie des ingrédients. donc.
Si on fait avec la farine, on va baisser le taux d'hydratation. Donc c'est comme si on aura mis moins d'eau parce qu'on aura augmenté de la farine. Quand on farine, quand on sort avec la farine, tous ces petits gestes, si à chaque fois on met de la farine, eh ben on va perdre en hydratation et donc on aura moins de bulles. On va casser en fait le réseau à chaque fois. Donc c'est pour ça qu'on fait avec de l'eau pour protéger le réseau au maximum. Regardez, vous avez vu les bulles?
Oui.
Elles sont déjà là.
Ok.
Et c'est pas les mêmes tailles. Ça, c'est ce qu'on va retrouver dans le pain après. Et donc là, on retrouve comme tout à l'heure. C'est bombé et en même temps,
The batches of dough will be left to rest until the following day, while batches from the day before are going to be cut in pieces and shaped. This is when the dough starts to resemble a baguette.
on peut le faire à la main, mais ça prend beaucoup de temps.
Ah, ok.
Et quand on fait à la main, on chauffe la pâte.
Ah oui, c'est vrai.
Et donc ça fait qu'on devra faire attention à la température, respecter que ce soit bien frais, parce que justement, on a chauffé la pâte. Et le problème de la main, c'est que ce ne sera pas droit. Il y aura des coups plus gros, plus fins, plus gros, plus fins. Ça dépend en fait de la pression qu'on met pour la faire. C'est pour ça que la machine, ça permet d'être régulier.
Et ça, c'est du coton?
C'est de la toile.
Ah, ok.
Il y a des gens qui dessinent sur ça.
Ah, ok, oui.
Voilà.
Bien sûr.
Oui.
Et pourquoi utilisez-vous ça?
Parce que ça ne colle pas. Et puis, s'il y a de l'humidité dans l'air ou dans la machine, et ben, ça va protéger la baguette. Le
Ok.
tissu il va boire l'humidité.
Et donc, la différence entre la baguette traditionnelle et la baguette, c'est qu'on
C'est
utilise la pâte d'aujourd'hui.
Non, la
Non.
baguette, elle est faite le jour même, elle ne se repose pas. La tradie, elle se repose. Voilà. Donc on met des rangées de 6. C'est l'idéal. Quand c'est trop serré, ça va mal cuire, elle va tomber parce qu'il n'y aura pas assez de chaleur entre les tradis. Et puis quand c'est trop espacé, ça cuit trop vite à l'extérieur et pas assez à l'intérieur. Donc c'est pour ça qu'il faut trouver le bon rendement en fait.
Vous utilisez cet outil en,
Oui, une
en
planche.
bois, en planche en bois?
Oui.
Parce qu'on pourrait jamais le faire avec les mains.
Alors, en fait, la tradie, c'est l'un des pains les plus fragiles. Parce que c'est pour ça que ça demande beaucoup de temps de repos, c'est très délicat la tradition. Donc pour protéger le réseau, les bulles d'air en fait, au maximum, l'alvéolage, on est obligé de les prendre à la planche. Il faut être très délicat.
Parce que comme ça, on respecte la forme.
Plus on fait attention à la tradie, plus elle sortira bombée. Voilà. Maintenant, on va donner un coup de lame pour la dégazer. Et puis pour l'esthétique aussi. Voilà. Soit on met un coup de lame, c'est ce que fait Mourad. Moi j'aime bien mettre 4 ou 5. Voilà.
Est-ce qu'il y a une règle ou c'est juste un dessin
Alors il y a une règle,
personnel?
il faut de préférence donner au milieu. Et puis ensuite, il ne faut pas appuyer. Il faut avoir une lame qui coupe bien. C'est pour ça que j'ai plein de bobos partout. Et puis plus on coupera bien, plus la grille. C'est-à-dire que c'est ce qu'on verra à la fin, c'est ça la grille. Ça c'est la grille. Ça coupe. Si on fait ça, mon gant il va se trouver.
One batch of dough will make about 20 baguettes, and about 200 baguettes will come out from the whole of the dough.
La température est-elle importante aussi?
270. C'est important, oui. Si c'est pas assez chaud, ça sera plat. Si c'est trop chaud, ça va cramer trop vite. C'est pour ça que tout le monde pense que c'est facile de faire du pain, mais faire du bon pain, voire du très bon pain ou de l'excellent pain, c'est très difficile. Ça a bien gonflé,
Ça a
hein?
bien gonflé.
C'est bon, vas-y, allez, vas-y, sors. Voilà, c'est joli. Voilà,
Ça fait juste 20 minutes. Ça.
moins 19.
Moins 19, ok.
Voilà, là on a une belle green. It's very hot.
Est-ce qu'on cherche un son particulier?
On sent que ça croustille bien, donc c'est que la croûte est bien épaisse. Et puis en même temps, on sent que c'est moelleux. C'est ça le pire. C'est que quand on touche, c'est moelleux, mais en même temps, ça fait un bruit de craquement. Elle a gardé sa forme.
C'est
Elle
vrai.
n'est pas restée aplatie, elle a gardé sa forme. Voilà. Donc vous avez vu les bulles, c'est pas la même taille. Donc on a toutes les tailles. Petites, grandes, moyennes. La mi teint vers le jaune. Ça c'est dû à la fermentation. Et puis donc on a une croûte qui est assez épaisse, assez dure. Et à l'intérieur, c'est très moelleux, très tendre. Et là, on sent bien le froment, le blé français. Vous voulez sentir?
Oui. Waouh.
Vous pouvez toucher, hein, vous allez voir, c'est très moelleux.
Ah oui, c'est vrai. So soft inside.
Voilà.
Wow.
Et là, c'est très dur. Ouais.
Voilà.
Il y a aussi quelque chose qu'on peut faire, ça, quand on voit ça, c'est que c'est très aéré à l'intérieur. On arrive à voir à travers.
Et donc il y a de l'espace pour la lumière de
Voilà.
passer.
C'est quand on a ça, c'est qu'on a un réseau de bulles à l'intérieur.
Waouh,
Quand on voit la lumière.
incroyable.
Il faut qu'il fasse un petit peu plus sombre parce qu'il y a beaucoup de lumière ici. Si j'éteins la lumière,
Oh.
vous avez vu? C'est beau, hein? C'est pour ça que la tradie, elle est bonne à manger, même pour la digestion. Elle est facile à digérer. Contrairement aux autres pains, on a beaucoup de mie et donc on se sent lourd. Alors que la tradie, non. Vous voyez, il n'y a rien. Il n'y a rien dedans.
Parce que la baguette c'est très grand, mais en fait
Oui.
c'est
Il y a
plein
rien.
d'air.
Il y a plein d'air dedans, voilà. Quand c'est bien fait, hein. Quand c'est pas très bien fait, on a beaucoup de mie dedans et on retrouve pas après là ce qu'on va voir les bulles.
Wow.
Ça, on ne le retrouve pas si la lumière ne passe pas. On aura des mie et c'est pas bon pour la digestion.
Ça serait blanche.
Oui.
Ah.
Vous avez vu les belles alvéoles?
C'est vrai, ce sont tous irréguliers.
C'est ça. Ça, c'est ma signature. Vous voulez goûter? Il est temps, hein?
Ah, merci. Pour vous aussi.
Merci. Donc là, on sent bien le blé. Et quand on touche, c'est humide. On dirait que c'est mouillé.
Ah, ok. C'est vrai en fait.
On dirait que c'est mouillé.
Ça, c'est l'air qui
C'est
lui donne
l'eau aussi que je mets dans le pain. Donc le taux d'hydratation que j'avais dit tout à l'heure, si on réussit à le préserver, et ben, ça fait qu'on a une mie qui est humide. Donc c'est croquant, à la fois moelleux, et ça fond dans la bouche en fait.
Il n'y a pas de mie agressive, non. C'est très léger.
Ça fond.
Vous faites le boulanger depuis combien de temps?
Écoutez, ça fait, on va dire, 28 ans, depuis que je suis né en fait. Mon père est boulanger depuis 30 ans, il est boulanger. Donc j'ai grandi à côté de lui. Je me réveillais déjà à 4 heures quand j'étais tout petit. Je descendais avec lui à la boulangerie. Et donc il m'a transmis sa passion. J'ai appris à travers lui.
Et après, vous avez décidé d'ouvrir votre boulangerie
Alors, j'ai d'abord fait des études. J'ai fait un bac S, option maths. Et ensuite, j'ai fait une prépa et puis une licence de chimie. Et en même temps, j'ai travaillé avec mon père toujours. Je me réveillais à 4 heures. À 7 heures, je prenais une douche et je partais à la fac.
Est-ce qu'il faut vraiment une connaissance de la chimie ou...
Ça m'a aidé. En fait, la chimie, la prépa, toutes mes études m'ont permis de mieux comprendre ce que je fais en fait. Parce que je sais qu'il y a des réactions qui se passent, il y a des choses qui sont importantes, des détails. Les pesées, les dosages, les mélanges, tout ça, c'est des choses qui font partie de la chimie que nous, on nous a enseignées, qui ont une importance énorme. Alors que je pense que certains boulangers n'ont pas cette notion d'importance pour ce genre de détails. J'ai des amis qui me disent je suis le boulanger chimiste. Ils m'ont donné un surnom.
J'ai vu ici que vous avez les deux drapeaux.
Oui.
Est-ce qu'il est important pour vous d'avoir ce double héritage?
Oui. Pour moi, c'est une chance d'avoir deux nationalités, deux cultures différentes. Le fait d'être tunisien et d'être aussi français, et puis d'arriver là où je suis, d'être l'un des meilleurs boulangers de Paris, il n'y a pas mieux, Je suis très fier.
We're in Edinburgh, Scotland, and we're about to visit Max Sween, a third-generation family-run haggis producer. What we're about to see is a traditional haggis, which is encased in an animal tripe and stuffed with meat, spices, salt, and a few more ingredients. So let's go and find out which ones.
I've always been curious about haggis, and finally I get the chance to travel to Scotland to find out how it's made and why it matters so much to Scots. Leading me in this journey is James Maxwell, who has turned his grandfather's butcher shop in Edinburgh into one of the most successful haggis companies in the UK.
Being a boy in a family business, I never get tired of eating haggis. From when I was old enough to understand what my dad did to, 40 plus years later. I love haggis. I love haggis.
There is no steadfast rule as to what specific animal has to go into haggis. At Maxwell, the base is lamb lungs and beef fat.
I'm the third generation managing director of McSwain's. We're still using that same recipe that we started with in 1953. You can have a pork haggis, you can have lamb and beef, you could have a lamb, beef and pork. There's some people make venison haggis. We've made venison haggis in the past. But as long as this business has been making haggis, we have always made lamb and beef recipe.
How many lungs are there in?
Oh, hundreds. They've been, it's a big block of meat that we guillotine, but there's hundreds.
Okay. And how many haggis are these going to make?
By the time Connor's lifted everything for this batch, it will make 2,000 puddings or 4,000 portions.
Each pudding is meant to serve 2 to 3 people, so that is about 2 portions per pudding.
It looks like marble.
Yeah, it's like
It looks like Tuscan marble.
travertine, pink travertine.
Yeah.
Some manufacturers mince a lot of their meat raw and then they cook it in the casing. We don't do it like that.
Okay.
We cook our lungs. Others, some don't.
Oh.
So cooking it makes our haggis light and fluffy. So we.
Smells like liver, actually.
Yeah, well, it will smell like it. It doesn't taste like it.
And lungs, they are safe to eat, I guess. But
Yeah.
Why is it that they're banned in some countries?
According to Canada and America, they think that you're going to contract tuberculosis. Pretty much every butcher in Scotland will make haggis. We eat a huge amount of haggis in Scotland. Everybody's okay. It's really well cooked, you know. So we cook the lungs. They then once they've been mixed with all the other ingredients, it goes into the casing. It gets cooked again, and then for the consumer to eat it, it gets cooked again. It's very safe.
What James is referring to is a 1971 US ban on imported animal lungs that is still in place today. But while haggis cannot be imported from Scotland, there are still some local producers feeding those hungry for haggis across the pond. Lungs are cooked for about 2 hours before being mixed with onions and salt. Meanwhile, in this other room, spices and oatmeal are measured to then be blended together with gravy and the minced meat. They wouldn't share the full list of spices, but from what we can tell, there may be nutmeg, mace, and coriander.
It's really very simple.
Yeah, it is actually. It's just a lot of ingredients.
A lot of ingredients. It's just like making a hot sausage or a salami.
But you would never just miss out on any of these ingredients.
No, you wouldn't.
If you make haggis without spices, then
no. Haggis needs spice.
Now it's time to encase the haggis. This is done with beef intestine.
So this is intestine you use?
Yeah, this is beef intestine. This is what we call a large bung or the large intestine. There's this end here is the equivalent of your appendix.
Okay.
So it's that part of the gut. And then along here there's a small hole.
Where is that?
There it's there. And that's where the large intestine joins the small intestine.
Okay.
All these casings you would see being used for mortadella, which is what this casing's for, or salami or chorizo. The small intestine is typically used for salamis for a narrower caliber, but for haggis, that's the casing that we use.
Haggis is quite wide. So
haggis is very wide.
Okay.
These are 454 gram haggis today, but we do make haggis that are 2.3 kilos, so they feed 10 people, and they're very wide and very long.
And is there a difference in taste as well, at the end?
Yes, very good question. Like real cheese, mature cheese, there is a flavour that comes off the casing that gives it a more traditional flavour.
Okay.
It's a more mature flavour.
The freshly made puddings are punched to let out the air as they cook. They will stay in the oven for about an hour and cook at 100 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow. Look at there's some yellow water coming out. Is this for the spices?
Oh no, that's the fat.
Oh, okay. So it's not water.
No. Some of it's water and some of it's fat.
Okay. Wow.
Because the casing's porous, it's just some of the fat, the moisture within the haggis seeping through. So.
Yeah, of course there is fat. You should save it. You should make it like foie gras or something.
All the flavours have been bound together through the cooking process. So you've got the lamb meat, the beef meat, the oatmeal, the seasoning, the spices, the salt, and then once it's now been filled into the casing's now shrunk through the cooking process.
It has shrunk so much. They just come back like half the size.
The haggis need about 4 hours to cool down before going to get vacuum packed.
But these are not ready to be eaten yet, because they need to be eaten up again after they're in the bags.
That's what the consumer would do.
All right.
But in the old days, when we used to run the butcher shop, back when my grandfather was running the business, if there was ever a burst haggis, the guys would take it away and eat it, because it's right now the haggis at this stage is so tasty.
Is it?
Oh, it's fresh and succulent and juicy.
Oh no! So we're losing out so much just by cooking it afterwards.
No, you have it the same thing again when you heat it. But right now, there's nothing beats the taste of fresh haggis, and the recipe's only changed once in 67 years. We changed the blend of oatmeal. My father received a letter from a very well-renowned food critic called Derek Cooper, and he said, "John, I think your haggis is fantastic, but I think you could improve it. You might want to consider changing the blend of oatmeal." And Dad did. He sent a haggis back to Derek, and Derek replied, going, "Perfection." And we've never changed it since. Haggis isn't Scottish. Haggis, in one way or another, exists in every culture around the world. So a salami is a bit like a haggis. Mocia is a bit like a haggis. Feijoada in a stew in Brazil is a bit like a haggis. A haggis is a dish made with the bits and pieces that aren't whole muscle meat. So it's the original boil in the bag, you know, because you're just using all these bits and pieces, and you make something that's very tasty and very affordable.
James isn't kidding about it being in almost every culture. In Czech cuisine they have vitrenice, in Romanian cuisine they have toba, andouillette in France. They're all made from bits and pieces of animal meat and encased to boil. Not only they are tasty, but they're also an economical way to use as much of the animal as possible. Despite this style of cooking being everywhere, Scots have a unique passion for haggis. There is even one night a year devoted to haggis, which acts as a sort of unofficial national holiday. It's called Burns Night and is named after Robert Burns, Scotland's national poet. A Burns supper traditionally kicks off with an address to the haggis. To show you how seriously they take it, I'm going to play James reciting the entire poem, while I also show you a collection of people across Scotland acting it out. Okay, take it away, James.
So, To a Haggis by Robert Burns. Fair fa your honest sonsy face, great chieftain the puddin' race, aboon them all ye tak your place.
Pinstripe or thern, weel are ye worthy o a grace as lang's my airn. The groaning treasure, ere ye fall.
Your hardies, like a distant hill.
Your pin would help to mend a mill in time o' need.
And through your pores the dews distill.
Like amber beat.
His knife, see rustic labour dicht,
And cut ye up with ready slight.
Drenching your gushing entrails, breath like ony ditch.
and then, oh, what a glorious sicht, warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn,
They stretch and strive.
you'll tack the hindmost on they drive, till their wheels
Swalled kites belive are bent.
Like drums, and all big man is like to ride.
Bethank it hums.
Is there the hour his French a ragout?
Rolio, 'twould staw a sou.
or fricassee would mak her spew.
We perfect skinner.
Looks down with sneer and scorn for you.
On sick a dinner. Poor deal, see him o' his trash.
As feckless as a withered rash.
His spindle shanked gid whiplash.
His knee and net through bloody flat of fields to dash.
Oh, how unfit. But mark the rustic, haggis fed.
The trembling earth resounds his tread.
Clapping his wally neva blade, he'll mak it whistle, and leagues the names and heeds'll sned like taps o' thistle.
Ye poors,
Whack mak mankind your care, and dish them out their billow fare.
all Scotland wants nae skinking ware.
That drops in luggies.
But if you wish her grateful prayer, gie her a haggis.
Wow, it's very soft.
Yeah.
Smells quite good.
Love it.
Wow.
It's meaty, it's fluffy, it's got oats, it's peppery, it's nutty.
And I like the spices as well. It's not that overpowering.
I'm glad you like it. Don't be shy, I'm not going to be shy.
Today we're in Genoa on the Italian Riviera. This city is famous for many things like its ancient port, the aquarium, but most of all, focaccia bread. And here it's eaten at pretty much any time of the day. You can have it for breakfast, as a snack, for lunch, for dinner, and even as dessert with Nutella. So you know what? It's time... Oh, I don't care what time of the day it is. It's just time for focaccia. Let's go and see how it's made.
The old town is scattered with bakeries churning fresh focaccia at every hour of the day. While you may be tempted to stop at the first shop that you see, we're taking you to one of the oldest bakeries in Genoa, Antico Forno della Casana. Behind this busy focaccia counter is Ivan Sacchi, who has been making focaccia since 1985 and has never abided by a set recipe.
Ogni giorno noi usciamo di casa e guardiamo il cielo e vediamo che tempo fa. E a seconda del tempo e poi la temperatura la percepisci sulla pelle e lavori di conseguenza.
Despite being a quick eat, making focaccia is far from a speedy process. It requires long leavening times between each step. These range between 10 minutes and 2 hours. The process starts with Ivan making the dough and then kneading it.
Gli ingredienti dentro l'impastatrice sono farina, olio, strutto, sale, malto, lievito di birra e lievito madre. Acqua senz'altro perché senza l'acqua.
La quantità di ingredienti è una cosa che avete imparato voi?
Sì, è una cosa che ci insegnano e poi da mano a mano che la fai tua te la regoli come ti viene bene secondo la tua persona e secondo il tuo bisogno. Il tempo influisce, anche la farina fa la sua differenza perché a volte ci sono farine più umide o meno umide, più forti o meno forti. Adesso tra un po' dovrebbe partire in seconda.
E qui quanto manca?
Manca poco, adesso pochi minuti la tiriamo su. Perché adesso comanda lei, non comando più io.
Adesso è pronta?
Ora bisogna tirarla su.
Ma come fa a sapere che è pronta? Cioè quando insomma ad occhio, a tatto?
È bella liscia, vede? È bella fine, non è calda quindi l'abbiamo fermata al punto giusto. Deve essere bella elastica.
Super elastica.
È importante è tirarla via bene subito perché poi se no secca.
Ma quindi qual è la differenza tra l'impasto di una focaccia e l'impasto del pane?
Perché la focaccia hai meno cicli di lavorazione, però hai più tempo di lievitazione. Il pane invece hai diversi cicli di lavorazione, però la lievitazione è più veloce.
Ok. Quindi è completamente diverso. Diciamo,
Completamente.
considerare la focaccia un tipo di pane?
Assolutamente.
No.
Assolutamente.
So you know everybody abroad that calls it focaccia bread. That is absolutely not true.
Oddio, se uno non ha pane si accontenta anche della focaccia mangiando. Perché poi,
ma infatti
però,
io so qui che a Genova viene mangiata anche a colazione.
Sì, no,
sì?
Colazione,
Wow.
colazione
Okay.
pranzo, cena, snack, pomeridiano, sempre. La focaccia è sempre.
Quindi è un po' come il pane qui, dai. È il pane di Genova. Va. No. È meglio.
È meglio, perché tu prendi un pezzo di focaccia, nudo e crudo, tu lo mangi, è saporito, ti soddisfa. Prendi un pezzo di pane, nudo e crudo, se non ci metti in mezzo qualcosa.
So it's a better bread. It's not bread, it's just a better bread. That's it. Ma quanto pesa?
Allora, c'è 26 kg di farina, poi ci sarà un 4 kg di condimento, quindi siamo a 30, più c'è un 16 litri d'acqua.
E quindi da questo impasto quante
Da questo impasto
focacce?
sono 26, 52, 56 focacce più o meno.
Wow. E queste finiranno tutte oggi? Cioè saranno acquistate
Sì, più o
tutte
meno.
oggi?
Più o meno, ma quelle di stamattina ci sono già. E le altre andranno per il pomeriggio.
The end of the kneading of the dough marks the beginning of the first leavening time. This is a quick one, about 10 minutes, after which the dough is going to be split in small batches and put to rest on a wooden board.
Adesso un tempo 2-3 minuti dobbiamo andare avanti, perché
Ok.
sennò continua questa lievitazione, la pasta prende forza e poi il fornaio diventa matto per stirarla.
Altrimenti
Adesso
si
tra un po'
indurisce.
viene il mio amico, lui pesa, taglia, io le metto sulle tavole. Il peso più o meno è 940 grammi da cruda, che avremo un prodotto finale sugli 8 etti all'incirca.
Quindi non si perde molto.
Solitamente si fa delle catene umane a questa maniera.
Ah sì, così vi sbrigate prima.
Vai avanti, Bacca, non ti fermare. Questo è da pesare, Bacca. Di solito questo lavoro qua noi cerchiamo di non arrivare mai nell'ora di punta del negozio a fare questi lavori, perché se bisogna essere in 2 o più di una persona a farlo,
Sì, certo.
il forno rimane scoperto. Bacca, tu sei alto, là in cima io non ci arrivo.
Se non sei alto non ce la fai.
La pasta è molto morbida. Senta, prima.
Vediamo, wow. Yeah, this is very soft inside. And,
Molto soffice.
And not so hard on the outside actually. Non è molto duro però fuori, cioè si sente proprio che è morbido.
Morbido.
Invece
morbido.
magari ogni tanto l'impasto del pane si sente molto
L'impasto è molto
che
più-
ci sarà una bella crostatura,
Certo,
no?
certo.
So
Anche
that
questo
is
viene-
different from bread.
Anche questo viene bella croccante, poi tutto sta nella cottura.
This is very elastic. It's very like energetic as well, very firm. When you move them, you can feel both sides. You know, I mean, I'm feeling them in my hands. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to take this off, but so that's really a different dough. Just smells like dough. Dough was spent about 1.5 hours on the wooden boards. This is the second leavening.
La farina serve per non far attaccare la focaccia al telo.
Ok.
E il telo serve per non fargli fare la pelle, per non farla diventare asciutta. Si diventa asciutta, forma una pellicola secca
Ah, ok.
che poi influisce nella lievitazione. Quindi
Ah, ok.
questo
Quindi-
mantiene la sua umidità.
Quindi il telo comunque gioca un ruolo importante.
Certo,
sì, sì.
certo.
Non è
mantiene la
solo
sua umidità.
per separare
No,
le
no,
focacce.
assolutamente. Assolutamente.
When the waiting time is over, the small batches of dough are stretched on baking trays with a bit of olive oil.
Molto più è lunga la lievitazione, il migliore è il risultato. Ok, adesso entra in gioco il lavando del fornaio.
C'è una tecnica particolare.
Sì, bisogna stare attenti a non farla troppo sottile da una parte o troppo alta, e ci vuole manualità. Bisogna farlo tante volte come l'ho fatto io, allora ci riesce bene. È difficile trovare, ma anch'io a volte sbaglio, ma è difficile trovare gente che sappia stirare veramente bene la focaccia, perché la focaccia si stira. Il più dei fornai la pestano, e pestandola ci rompi gli alveoli della pasta e il risultato è completamente diverso.
Possiamo vedere il risultato della lievitazione, quindi delle bolle d'aria.
Dovrei tagliarla, ma comunque non la vede.
Ah, ok.
Non si vede, perché, cioè, se io la taglio qua, la segno, poi rimane chiusa.
Ok.
Adesso non lo può vedere.
Sì.
La può vedere da cotta. Da cotta si vedono gli alveoli che formati dall'anidride carbonica.
Quindi sono tutti qui dentro,
È
poi
tutto
si
qui
vedranno
dentro, è tutto qui
più
dentro.
avanti.
Poi ci mettiamo il suo condimento, che è a base di olio d'oliva, extravergine, acqua e sale. È un'emulsione.
Ah, è tutto qui dentro,
È
tutto
un'emulsione,
insieme.
sì.
Ah, ok. Wow.
Senza economia, perché anche se dicono che i genovesi sono tirchi su questo, non lo sono.
Sì, una bella spolverata di olio.
Sì. Si arriva bene da tutte le parti e poi si cominciano a dare le ditate in modo che quando cuoce e quando lievita l'olio si ferma nei buchi, non va da tutte le parti, e poi è il particolare della focaccia, che è dove ci rimane il saporito proprio della focaccia.
Ma quindi proprio questi buchetti che si vedono sulla focaccia finita sono le dita praticamente del fornaio?
Sì, sono le dita del fornaio.
Wow.
Nient'altro che le dita del fornaio. E in questi buchi si forma proprio il gusto tipico della focaccia, perché ci rimane il sale, l'olio e l'acqua, che te la fa rimanere leggermente bianca, leggermente cruda dentro il forno. È tutta manuale la focaccia. Qualcuno ha provato a farla con dei sistemi meccanizzati, ma non puoi farla così. Fai di tutto tranne che focaccia. Ok, adesso che l'abbiamo stirata, prendiamo il tocco finale, un pizzico, diciamo, di sale grosso, a insaporire ulteriormente. Sì, perché la focaccia, se non è salata, ha paura del sale.
No, beh, non porta molta fortuna buttare il sale.
No. Questo sale porta fortuna.
Questo sale sì, ok.
Bene, adesso queste qua si mettono a riposare, le mettiamo sul carrello.
Ok.
Once stretched, the focaccia will rest for another 2 hours. This is the third and final evening, during which the focaccia soaks up all the flavors of the olive oil seasoning. Then it is cooked for 15 minutes at 230 degrees Celsius. The focaccia comes out of the oven with a golden crust on the outside and soft on the inside.
Deve farla finta?
No, devo farla vera. Non la vuole ben cotta? No, calda.
Calda, sì, dai.
Allora, così basta?
Sì, direi di sì. Ok.
Però poi devi prendere un tovagliolino perché ungerà senz'altro. Per te?
Wow. So warm, so nice.
La devi mangiare al contrario.
Oh no.
La parte
Ok.
cotta, perché la parte sapida va sulla lingua e subito si mescolano i gusti.
Qui la si mangia così al taglio, cammini per estrarre.
E passa, la vedi. Poi provo. Entra dentro, se ne prende un pezzo. Oh, ce l'abbiamo. Questa è per te.
We're in Bari, Italy, my hometown, and today I'm going to take you to a local bakery to try some focaccia bread. I know what you're thinking. Haven't you done a video on focaccia already? Well, kind of, but what in the northern regions is a savory bread with olive oil, here in the southern regions is got, well actually here we're not shy on ingredients. We got olive oil, but we also got tomatoes, we got oregano, we got olives, we got more olive oil, so can't wait to try it. Let's go and see how it's made.
Today we're going to visit Panificio Fiore, a local bakery that's been churning fresh focaccia every day for over a century. The bakery is just a few steps away from the city's Basilica di San Nicola, an important destination for pilgrims all over the world. For those foodies exploring the old town on another kind of pilgrimage, a slice of focaccia here will cost you only €1 and will for sure open the doors of heaven. P.S. The bakery is actually located in a deconsecrated 13th century Byzantine chapel.
Siamo centrali vicino alla Basilica di San Nicola. Io sono una terza generazione. Quindi ci conoscono, penso, dappertutto. Mio nonno, mio padre, adesso ci sono io.
Ed è sempre stato questo?
Sempre stato quello, non è stato cambiato niente. Il forte è quello della guerra e tiriamo avanti ancora le tradizioni di una volta.
Focaccia at Panificio Fiore is made with a combination of semolina and wheat flour.
Oh, questa è la massa già pronta per la focaccia, iniziamo la lavorazione.
Quali sono gli ingredienti?
Acqua, sale, lievito di birra, lievito madre, zucchero e malto.
Ok. Ok, e quanto tempo fa l'hai preparata?
Questa un'oretta fa l'ho preparata.
Un'oretta fa. E quindi adesso l'hai lasciata qui a riposare,
Sì, a riposare
per un'oretta?
per un'oretta. E ora iniziamo a fare la procedura per la focaccia.
Va bene. E questi quanti chili sono di impasto?
Questa è una ventina di chili.
E quante focacce ne usciranno più o meno?
Una ventina. Perché
Una ventina, ok.
sono da chilo.
Perfetto, sì.
When the leavening time is over, the next step is to split the dough into small portions, which will in turn have to rest again for some time.
Per quanto tempo lievitano i
Adesso
panetti?
dipende sempre dal clima e il periodo. Mo stiamo in estate, che qui sono almeno 80 gradi, questo in un quarto d'ora già lievita.
Davvero?
Eh sì, perché il caldo chiaramente
invece...
porta alla fermentazione.
Sì. E invece in inverno quanto tempo ci
In
mettono?
inverno devi calcolare almeno un'oretta.
Un'oretta?
Un'oretta qui, questa lievitazione, e poi abbiamo l'altra lievitazione.
Ah, ce ne sono 3? Sì, quindi ogni passo, man mano la pasta viene divisa, sì. E quindi si aspetta.
Sì, sì.
Ma voi non controllate qui la climatizzazione?
Sì che la controlliamo.
Ah, sì?
Oggi sono 72 gradi.
Qua dentro, adesso?
Lì non lo sente?
Sì, lo sento, però non mi aspettavo sono 70. Mamma mia.
Perché abbiamo un forno di quasi 20 metri e chiaramente lì sono 350 gradi, immagina fuori.
Sì, quindi il forno occupa praticamente, non so,
una stanza
intera
quasi tutto il locale.
E poi riscalda tutto.
Chiaramente, sì. Ma all'inverno si sta da Dio.
Ovviamente.
Ma d'estate devi
D'estate...
15 minutes later, the dough has fermented and is stretched onto these round baking trays, ready to be seasoned.
Vedo dei pomodori, adesso comincia a essere focaccia barese,
allora, questi
no?
sono i pomodori dove iniziamo a schiacciarli per fare il condimento della focaccia.
Che tipo di pomodori?
Questo oggi è il San Marzano, perché
oggi,
noi siamo a
sì.
periodi. A volte arriva il San Marzano, dipende dal periodo che stanno i pomodori.
Giustamente,
siamo in estate, usiamo il San Marzano.
Quindi non c'è un pomodoro migliore
che
per
questo
la focaccia.
qui, ve lo faccio vedere, eccolo qua, un bel San Marzano.
Sono grandissimi.
Questi sono di Foggia.
Beh, i pomodori belli
iniziamo
grossi.
a fare la focaccia.
Okay.
Adesso
Olio
vedi
alla
sta già lievitata.
Ma perché la focaccia barese è tonda?
È sempre stata così, la tonda per allargarla nella teglia, perché se non la fai tonda, la fai quadrata, comunque gli devi dare una base che si allarga.
Però la caratteristica è che
sì,
viene fatta
essere
sempre
tonda,
tonda, perché poi esce la ruota di focaccia.
Bravi. E questi sono delle teglie che vengono fatte a mano dagli artigiani che stanno scomparendo, è difficile trovarli. Sono di latta.
Di latta?
Non di ferro, perché questa è proprio la classica teglia per la focaccia. Allora adesso iniziamo a condirla.
Queste teglie voi da quanti anni ce l'avete? Anche queste sono di terza generazione?
No, questi dopo un anno li devi buttare perché si bruciano.
Ah sì?
Ma chiaramente non è mica eterna. Per questi abbiamo un artigiano che grazie a Dio vive ancora di Molfetta. Quindi ce ne facciamo fare tipo un migliaio e ce li teniamo.
Lui li fa solamente per voi, non è...
Sì, perché ormai non ce ne sanno più queste persone. Gli artigiani sono scomparsi tutti.
Quindi è tutto fatto a mano.
Tutto fatto a mano.
La focaccia ma anche la teglia proprio...
Sì. Allora iniziamo
qui viene
a
cotta.
fare la focaccia.
Ma più o meno c'è insomma tu vai ad occhio per quanto riguarda gli ingredienti?
Ma ormai sì, no?
E si mettono tutti a crudo?
Eh sì, normale, poi c'è la cottura.
Vengono cotti tutti insieme?
After tomatoes, Antonio flavors each wheel with olives, salt and oregano.
Quindi queste adesso sono pronte per essere
Queste
infornate.
devono lievitare un po'.
Ah, lievitano con
Sì.
tutti gli ingredienti. Per quanto tempo?
Adesso un quarto d'ora di lievitazione con questa temperatura e poi li mettiamo in forno.
Here we go, another 15 minutes have passed and the focaccia has soaked up all the flavors of the seasoning. Now it's time to cook it in the bakery's 120-year-old wood-fired oven.
Questo forno è enorme. Wow, wow, bellissima. Ma qui fa caldissimo comunque.
Fa caldo.
Incredibile. Ma perché avete questa pala lunghissima?
E non vedi il forno quant'è? Come deve arrivare dietro?
Sì,
sono 8 metri.
Sono 8 metri. Ma come mai è in lungo, diciamo, e non in altezza?
Prima anticamente li facevano
Si faceva
così.
per forza così. Ma quindi sopra e sotto?
Sopra, là e
Cioè-
sotto c'è l'altra camera, uguale a quella.
Ah, quindi tutta la stanza proprio piena di focacce.
È normale che fa
praticamente.
questo caldo.
Ah, ho capito. Ma questa cosa è pericolosissima, comunque dovete stare attenti.
Noi siamo abituati, abbiamo tutti i metri calcolati.
Eh sì, e quanto è lunga questa pala?
Questo è 4 metri.
4 metri, caspita. E invece questa è la focaccia pronta. Che cosa ti suggerisce che è pronta quando la
Quando
vedi?
c'è la crosta attorno attorno, è cucinata bene.
So what is the best way to eat focaccia? Well, actually, there are many. What I like to do is just come in here by the seaside, sit here and have my piece of focaccia with a beer sometimes, depends on the time of the day. So you see, this one has been made just around the corner at the bakery. Look at the oil, so good. Wow. Oh my goodness. It's so good. It's so oily, but in a good way. So fluffy inside, and the tomatoes are just incredible. I just love all the flavors all together. You got the acidity of the olive and the oily texture, and the tomatoes add that extra creaminess, and then you got the dough, which is nice and fluffy. This is the best feeling ever, sitting here by the seaside, having a piece of focaccia. So good. We're in Bari, Lancashire, England, and we're about to visit a black pudding company. Black pudding is that one item in an English breakfast plate that you either love or hate. Why? Because it has blood in it. But it is also that one item that has the most history, especially here in Lancashire, which is known for being the county that brought it to fame. So it's time to see how it's made. Let's go.
In Bari, we met with Richard Morris, production director at the Bari Black Pudding Company. His grandfather was a butcher, and it is his black pudding recipe that the company uses today.
People have this idea of black puddings, it's all bits of animals and stuff. There's no meat in the black pudding. There's blood in the black pudding, but there's no meat, it's cereal based.
Black pudding starts with a dry mix of pig blood, seasoning, rusk and oatmeal. And when we say dry, we mean this.
Well,
Seriously?
Yeah, you'd never guess. It's actually a dried blood, so if you smell that, what would you...
It just smells like herbs.
Yeah,
it smells like the seasoning.
Yeah, the seasoning.
There's no blood.
No.
Any blood.
No,
smell
it's
at all.
it's a nice aroma, and we use dry blood because it's developed to certain parameters, so it's very safe, food safe.
What is the difference with like liquid blood?
It's much more consistent. Using fresh blood, that can change with different animals, what they've been fed on. So this is a very consistent product which fits what we do. We also have rusk then, which is breadcrumbed flour used heavily in manufacture of sausage. That's what gives sausage a fluffy texture.
Oh, I see.
And we also have oatmeal as well. So oatmeal that's been ground, so it's a fine oatmeal, and that again, if you added water to that, it would go a bit stiffer. So the two together make a nice texture.
Oh
so
yeah, because they complement each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think heavily in England, especially north of England, anything that's got lumps in it, you've got to bite 2 or 3 times. They call it gristle round here. Chorizo and that sort of sausage are quite firm, that's more European. Around here, especially north of England, it needs to be soft and very palatable.
Okay, so that is a taste.
Just regional things. Yeah,
regional taste.
Another 2 ingredients are barley and fat. Unlike the rusk, oatmeal and blood, they will be cooked before being added to the dry mix.
The barley itself comes in loose like this. When we cook it up in these, leave room for it, it will swell up to about 3-4 times the size.
Oh wow, looks like a Christmas sock.
Yeah.
It does.
This is pork fat, so if you think of a pork chop, where the meat is, the white piece of fat there, this comes in from Denmark where we have fatter pigs. In England, the fat's like this, so we don't have fat pigs. So this white piece of fat comes in strips, which we have here.
Oh wow. I didn't even notice
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It looks like textile.
That's it, yeah. So we got a strip there.
No, it doesn't look like meat.
And then this goes through, this is then diced.
Oh.
So this is the high quality, there is no lean meat on this at all. So we're just after the fat.
And this one is going to be cooked? Yeah.
Yeah, we dice it on a machine. We wait into the stockinette again. So from here,
Yeah, another sock.
we take it up from there and we pop it into there.
Here we go. And this one is going to shrink, or?
Yes, it will just shrink slightly as it starts to give the moisture out of it and the flavour. The barley expands, this just reduces slightly. Yeah.
And one net is for one
It's
batch.
a mix, there's 4 nets go into a mix.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm giving you my recipe right now.
Okay. Well, might have to write this down.
Yes, no, don't do that.
Barley and fat are cooked for 1 hour. Meanwhile, onion and water are mixed in this giant container. When ready, they will be joined by the dry mix containing blood, oatmeal and rusk.
And then there's a motor on here. Basically, it will just, it's like when you whisk something up, but this does it at 4,500 revs. So it just whisks it up really quick. And basically, we rehydrate the product so you've got like a gravy consistency.
Okay.
With the dry bloods in it, the seasoning, the rust, the oatmeal, the flour, the onions, and you've got your base mix there.
Okay. So wait, this one is the barley that you were showing me earlier.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's grown so much in size, you were right.
Yeah, this is
like...
the barley you saw previously. If I pick one up, you'll see exactly the same. From there, see how it's swollen up. Now that's cooked perfectly.
So this one is about, it was like 2.5 kilos, and now
yeah,
it is?
It's about 10 kilos now.
Wow.
We weight check it, so it's right. If that was overcooked, if 11, 12 kilos, we wouldn't use that.
So Christmas sock before Christmas, and Christmas sock after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Wow, it's like a gym test.
I know, I can see you with a couple.
I'm shaking.
And you can do like a lunge thing, no?
Yeah.
So I see something else in here though, there's not just barley.
Well, this is fat, diced fat that we showed you earlier. Again, this has been cooked up, but if you notice, it's not swollen up.
Yeah.
It's just cooked out and it actually loses the bits. We only use, in our products, only 3% fat, and those are the actual small white pieces you see in the end product. If you don't want the fat, don't eat the small pieces and you're on 0% fat.
So you can really skip it.
Yeah, exactly.
Barley and fat are then added into the mix. Fat is mixed gently, not at high shear, to not break the dices. The mix is now ready.
So brown.
Yeah, it's like chocolate.
Yeah, it does look like chocolate.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Tastes a bit different to chocolate, but yeah, it's not bright red or anything like that. People associate it with blood. It's a cereal mix with a blood base, so it's a chocolatey, velvety sort of touch. Yeah.
But the color comes from the dried blood.
Yeah,
like
it does.
That's
the main part of it.
The mix is stuffed in a natural casing made of beef intestine.
That is super quick.
So that's the intestine that's been filled out with a mix. This is a portioning control machine, like you can see with sausage fillers.
Yeah.
And what it's actually doing, it's spinning the product. So it's doing that so quick.
Oh, okay.
You see from there.
So that you can portion it.
And that's one portion that we then link into a black pudding.
There you go. Nice. And it's always this shape, right?
It's
you
always
can't
this
have
shape.
it as just a
And you
straight
can
of
see with the
sausage.
linking, we tie that together with string there, and then there, and then there.
Okay.
And we use the string to tie it up. So one's just been done here.
Let's see. Oh, so you have a nice
So you've been
group, yeah.
they're tied up, all the same weight, right through, and they're ready for cooking.
Nice black color, no?
Yeah. You will see now when it goes in, it's a greyish look, and then it goes black after
As-
cooking.
after cooking.
And then it's
All
the name
right.
black pudding. So that's a very traditional process that we still teach that to this day. 100-year-old process, maybe longer. It's tied together. The touch is smooth.
Wow. Yeah, that is very smooth.
Yeah, very smooth.
Oh, honestly, there is no grains at all.
No.
It's just like when you pass your
Silky,
hands through your hair.
Yeah, it's
Something
silky,
like that.
silky smooth.
Super
Yeah,
smooth.
yeah,
That
super
is.
smooth. Yeah.
What about the casing? Are you
The
supposed to eat
casing
it?
can be eaten. It is edible. It's natural. Personally, I don't. I take it off because it's quite thick. It's probably the hardest to chew in the product. I like a nice, soft, palatable product. Yeah.
So you can easily just peel it off.
You can easily peel it off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
User friendly.
Then the black puddings are cooked in water for about 1.5 hours.
Oh, so they go in one by one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you put them in one go, basically that has the core temperature. If you put them individual, you have to get in the water around it. So we have 3 or 4 minutes allowed in the cooking time to get the water around the product.
Oh,
the pudding,
yeah.
it's called a pudding because it's cooked immersed in water. Hence the name.
They're black now.
Yeah, and as the air gets to them, so as they cool off, they go blacker and blacker. They get down to a temperature of about 40 degrees in about 10 minutes, and then we put them onto a rack to cool. 2 or 3 hours later, we're ready to pack them. So these are the black puddings that have been cooled. We just take them off the rack here, put them on the table, and then the staff here will cut the black puddings, cut the string off, and so they come in here, so they're in single black puddings.
Can I try?
Yeah, just lift it up.
Where do you lift it up?
You
Just
best
from...
lift it with both hands. Okay. Lift it.
Oh, it has the texture of like a date.
Yeah. You got them?
Wow. Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, the color has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
So?
So they've gone slightly
Yeah.
browny. They were very black to begin with, but it's just the cooling process.
Just sort of like my grandma's chocolate salami.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I can't really get my head around the fact that it's not chocolate.
I know.
So how do locals enjoy their black puddings? We took a trip to the Bari Black Pudding Company's stall at Bari Market to find out.
So here at Bari Market, you can actually just get black pudding as a takeaway food and have it.
Yeah, you have been able to for years and years. You can go away with a nice hot black pudding with a bit of mustard on or tomato sauce, brown sauce. But you can either have it just on its own or you can take it away on a bap, bread roll.
Oh, okay, nice. So how long have you been here at the Bari Market?
I've been here since I was 12 years old, so for 38 years. I came as a Saturday girl working for a farmer who had the stall. My mum works on the stall, my nephews work on the stall. So some of the stalls opposite, you know, they've been here for years, so it's like a family.
Wow. What does black pudding mean to Bari especially? Because it is used like all over England, but here specifically there is quite a strong black pudding like feeling culture.
Yeah,
no?
the story goes that the black pudding originated in Europe and the monks came over to England and settled in Bari. So it's always traditionally been known as the capital of black pudding.
Oh, the season is so good. It adds flavor, but it doesn't overpower the rest.
Yeah.
Texture is well and nice and creamy. I would never say that there is blood in here. If I were to look at this, I would probably think it's just chocolate mousse. So it's
Yeah,
just a
chocolate cake.
sausage.
Yeah, often when we're sampling, some of the children think it's chocolate cake.
Yeah.
We're in the hot spring town of Lurgavatn, Iceland, where out of the volcanic muddy ground comes the most pristine rye bread. Everywhere you look in Iceland, there seems to be something bubbling, whether it's a geyser, a lagoon, and the Geothermal bakery here is no different. But how do they cook the bread here without an oven? Let's go find out. In Iceland, we met with Siggy Ron Hilmarsson, General Manager at Lurgavatn Fontana.
This is our main tool.
He followed in his grandmother's and mother's footsteps in this hot volcanic sand. This is his bakery, no matter the weather. The process starts with Siggy making the dough. He uses 4 cups of rye, 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So why is it that you use rye then?
Well, rye has been used in Iceland for decades. It's something that originally came from Denmark to Iceland. And then we add milk to this,
That's cow's milk?
Yeah, cow's milk. Yeah. The milk is from the area, from the cows in the area, and there is a company in Selfoss about 25 minutes away from here that produces it.
And you get this fresh every day?
Yeah. So it's really a local thing. The butter we use comes from the same company, same cows.
So what's the art to making this then, to stirring this up?
Yeah, just put love in it.
This is your family recipe?
Yeah, this is the same recipe my grandmother and mother were using. If you go around the country, this is done in a few places. Some people use honey or syrup instead of sugar, but this is the way it has been done here, and I am just simply honoring the tradition.
So how will you know when this is done then?
It's supposed to look basically more or less like this. So I think we have a really good dough here.
When the dough is ready, he pours it in a tin lined with butter. Do you have to use a special tin for this?
It needs to be strong because, as you can see on the lid here, it's been banked quite heavily with a shovel, when we are digging it up. And the people use all kind of things to bake this bread here. You can even, there are some people that use empty Macintosh chocolate box, for this. But this pot works well for us. Stainless steel.
The dough is covered with a layer of baking paper, then wrapped in film.
Do this here. Just one circle like this, and then we put it on top.
Do you make this with your kids then?
My kids love this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how long will you bake this for?
24 hours.
24 hours. Wow.
24 hours in the ground. It's amazing if you bake it for shorter time, like 17, 18 hours. It usually doesn't turn out good. And if we bake it for too long, 25, 6, 7, 8 hours, it starts to compress. So the 24 is the magic. Oh. So we're good to go. Huh?
Goodness. Oh, it's actually quite heavy.
Yeah, and this is our main tool for this baking.
It's time to put our bread in its oven, aka the hot springs of the lake here in Laugvarten. The sand by the lake can host from 10 to 15 tins of bread. Siggy can either dig a completely new hole or reuse one from the day before.
It's good to make a good pile on top of it, just to make this isolation, Yeah.
Why do you pat it down like that?
To make it more beautiful.
You can't have ugly bread with this view, yeah.
And the mark. Voila. And we always mark the holes with a stone like this, so the other locals know that we are baking.
Yeah.
No matter how the weather is, the recipe is always the same. When we have a lot of rain and the snow melting from the mountains, this lake can rise up to meter and a half. Then this area here will all be underwater.
Oh, right.
So few times our breads have basically drowned.
Oh no, poor
it's
bread.
It's over there.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And I mean, guessing that's not good to eat then.
Nah,
just start again. Yeah.
More like a bread soup or something.
This one's been in for 24 hours.
Yeah. And you can see there's a lot of energy going on here.
Oh wow. Wow, that is hot. How hot is that?
It's about boiling temperature actually.
Wow.
Just love that sound.
Yeah. Wow. That's why it's called lava bread then. That's the reason for lava bread.
Yeah. I'm going to take most of the sand away from it, and then we open it up just to let the air come in. And, that's good. Okay. It's looking very promising.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Get a good one.
You want to do it?
I'll have a go.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Right. There we go.
Yeah. Beautiful.
My bread children.
Yes. Now we are going to try this inside. I'm going to cut it into slices and serve it with smoked trout from the lake. But it also tastes really good with boiled eggs.
Yeah.
Hot spring boiled eggs. So we're going to one cracked open a little bit. Oh. And
That is the most novel way I've ever seen anyone cook an egg.
And we leave them here for 13 minutes. I mean, look at that.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
It's such a delicate process with such a big space. I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah, with this.
it's so delicate. I love it.
If you touch the sand.
Can I touch?
So you just feel how hot it is.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's also fun to touch the leg.
Oh. Wow. And people just swim in here every morning.
Nah, not every morning. If you want to be swimming out there where the water is colder.
Yeah.
Here is hot spring water coming out.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but still, also, if you look closely in the water, can you see the fish over there, the little fish? This fish is the only fish in the world that has a hot tub, you know.
Yeah.
And okay.
Okay, yeah.
I think we're just about done.
So it's actually quite a dangerous area then. I mean, I see you've got a danger hot springs.
Yeah, it's all, quite warm.
The smell of that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Huh.
Oh, it's like almost like burnt toffee kind of smell. It's really, really sweet. Yeah, yeah. So how can you expect this to taste? What's the taste of this going to be like?
Like it's unique taste for itself, but a lot of our visitors from other countries say it reminds them of like a gingerbread. Really nice texture. It's quite like a heavy bread.
Yeah.
And because they just came from the spring, they're quite warm.
What's the most traditional way to serve this bread?
Exactly like we're doing right now. And you can see how the butter starts to melt right away,
How old is this recipe? How traditional is this?
Well, I've been trying to track it down, and I'm in very late 1800, early 1900, somewhere there. Okay, now we have the hot spring egg here.
That is a perfect looking egg.
Should we try?
Yeah. Cheers? What do we
cheers,
say?
Cheers, yeah.
What's the Icelandic term?
Instead of cheers?
Yeah.
Skål.
Skål.
Yeah, skål.
Yeah. It is really sweet. Like gingerbread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
A true Viking. This is probably the most wholesome thing I've ever done.
Look up the list of the most misunderstood foods in the world, and fermented shark is probably on it. But here in the west of Iceland, it is a regional delicacy.
It's Greenland shark that's been laboriously fermented, dried and cured. And it's been done by one family in this area for hundreds of years. We're here to find out what it tastes like.
The Greenland shark is the most toxic shark in the world. Fresh. Meat, you will get very sick. Then a little bit more, you could probably go blind. And then death after that.
So what exactly does it take to make it safe to eat? We met with Gudjon Hildebrandsson. He's running his family business of shark curing here in Bjarnarun.
I've been eating this shark since before I got teeth. I've been doing a curing process probably since I was 10. So this is just all my life. Just shark. We don't catch them ourselves, not anymore. Now we buy them from these big trolling boats. We catch the shark accidentally, but my family used to catch them and hunt them.
Gudjon cures about 60 sharks a year. From fishing to cube, the whole process takes 6 months. The meat is first fermented in cold storage rooms like this one.
Next, I'm gonna open it up, and you're gonna put your head in it.
Okay.
You're gonna inhale, and then you're gonna explain the smell you feel.
Okay,
I'm
ready.
Shall we check it out?
I'm ready, okay.
So.
Stick my head in.
Yeah, here we go.
It's I dye my hair and it's literally like bleach. It's hair bleach, right?
Okay,
yeah, like hair dye. Oh wow. So I'm sorry. sorry.
It is very strong.
It's really strong.
Because it's a closed unit.
You know what it is? It's hair bleach and Stilton.
We are working with similar bacteria, like when you're doing cheese.
So that's why.
Let's check this out.
Oh, you can see the oozing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can also. This is like, it does not smell as intense as when we walked in.
No.
So this can stay here for some while longer. So here we have the thinner pieces.
Yeah.
And we make these handles in the skin for grabbing them, lifting them up, hanging them up. So these are the thinner pieces. And under here we have the fillet. So this is how that's much thicker pieces. And he has white meat. He does not have a fat layer, he has white meat. And it's very important to have the skin on because the meat is so loose itself that if it's no skin, then it's just then the meat just basically stretch. The thinner pieces, after the process, the meat becomes sort of red or brown, and we call that glerhákarl.
Glerhákarl.
Yeah, and the meat is it's more chewy and salty. And then we have the fillet. That stays white. The fillet we call skýrhákarl.
Skyr.
Named after the milk product, Skyr.
Yeah, we love Skyr. What is the liquid that's coming off then? And
Ammonia. Water, like there is a lot of water in the meat. The Greenland shark, he has much more water in him than other fishes or other sharks. So it's ammonia.
What is that doing in the scientific process of it? Because it's poisonous when it's fresh?
Yeah, the Greenland shark is the most toxic shark in the world. And the Greenland shark is a deep ocean, cold ocean shark. So Icelanders, they first started fishing them for the liver. And they used the oil from a liver. So for the first 200 years when they were fishing them, they had to throw the meat away. They couldn't use it, so it was a big waste of meat. And in Iceland, in isolated areas, it was a big waste. So 400 years ago, probably accidentally, they discovered a process to use the meat.
What would happen if I took a bite of that now? What would happen to me? Would I
now
go blind?
It's that far in the fermentation that you would be fine.
Right.
But before, fresh meat, something small, you would get very sick.
Yeah.
Then a little bit more, you could probably go blind. And then death after that.
Okay, great. That's great. I will not be taking a bite of that. So this part of the process, is this the most important part to get the taste of it, or?
This basically does everything. It makes the meat not toxic. It's preserve it. After this, you can eat it. It's not toxic, but the drying process is just to get a better texture in the meat because it's just so wet and moisty.
Yeah.
And it's very important that these boxes, they have these gaps on them, so the liquid can leak from it, and also for oxygen to get in because the meat needs to breathe. There are chemical changes that are happening that are making the meat untoxic. First, people didn't know this was a chemical process. It was an accident. Now this is a chemical process, and there are a lot of interesting things that we are even still discovering.
Yeah.
It's also different after where the shark has been, in what depth, in what temperature he was caught. It's different after what chemicals are high or low in him. So in these boxes, the meat loses around 30%. So it loses a lot of weight here. And then in the drying process, it loses like 50–70%. So total use of meat is around 8%.
What happens to the ammonia when it drains? I mean, is it okay to be stuck? I mean, I've got boots on and you've got little sandals with some socks. Yeah.
The ammonia is, the liquid here is, that's fine. We could drink it. I won't though.
I'm pretty sure that's a
you
cure
want
for
some?
something.
You want some maybe? No.
No. One shark will give from 30 to 40 pieces of fillet. The meat ferments for 6 to 9 weeks in the wooden boxes, then is hung outside for 6 months to fully dry out.
To know if it's ready, we check the texture. And these are all like good. They are, the texture is fine. We don't want it too hard and not too mushy. And then we have this one here. This one is not stiff enough. So he needs more time, but these here are ready. Here you see the skin. You should.
Oh wow, it's like a... You know when these people have really terrible like 1970s walls where they, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like sandpaper. But yeah, this is, I mean,
actually,
it's really rough.
This was used for, in Iceland, this was used for sandpaper. And these points, if you look closely, you see the points in the skin.
Yeah.
They grow in one direction. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And so these points, they grow down with his body. So when he swims, he gets this sort of thin layer of air around him. It's always air around him. So it's easier for him to swim and to get faster. And it also works like gives him a little bit more insulation in a cold ocean.
It's like the meatiest fish I've ever seen. Yeah.
Here we have a piece of the fillet. And in the drying, the piece, he gets this dried crust around it. But you see here, when I slice it open, that he still has this beautiful white color at the inside. And here the meat is just ready to eat. So there is never nothing added to this meat in the process. There is no cooking, there is no smoking, like nothing at all. It's just natural process from the beginning till the end. And then you see how smoothly it's cut. And then you take this here.
Thank you. It looks like ham.
Yeah. And then I'll have one also.
Cheers.
Skål.
Skyr, okay. I was going to say, that actually doesn't, it's the aftertaste is kicking in now, yeah.
And now you feel it's coming up in your nose. Then it's doing what we wanted to do. We wanted to give us like a kick. It's supposed to be strong.
I can taste the ammonia kind of smell now. At first it was just like chewing a piece of ham.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, the texture of it in your mouth. And then the aftertaste. And then it's actually like stinging my tongue, stinging the back of my tongue. Do you ever get over that? It's like eating bread to you now.
Everything you feel is probably 10 times more than what I feel. For me, I sort of miss it, but I know good shark from a bad one. Two sharks who arrive here together, they go through the process together. After the process, they taste similar but not the same. It is the not even amount of ammonia maybe in them or salt or other chemicals that are different. So that's why they don't taste the same.
Yeah, you can taste the smell of it, but it's that really kind of like rich Stilton cheese like hits the back of your tongue, and it's just the size of your tongue, and you don't think that's ever going to go away, maybe. But
you want some more?
I'll have a little bit more. Yeah.
You have a little bit more?
I mean, I think that my tongue's just used to this now. I'm a shark convert. It's amazing though how much of it is in the smell.
Yeah.
It's just So would you recommend eat it before smelling it? Just go down the hatch?
Yeah. It tastes much better than it smells.
Okay.
I'll have another one also.
Right, I'm just going to try to chew this bit.
So
it's the texture now. I think at first it was the smell, then the taste. Now it's the texture. It's like gone into almost like a gelatinous kind of texture in my mouth. I think it's because I've just like masticated it so much in my mouth. It's just, there we go, I'll get over it.
The second one was also a little bit bigger.
Yeah, the second one was the kicker, yeah. The shark does have a reputation internationally.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's good. This is not for everybody, you know. People go in two parts, even Icelanders. Either you like it or you don't. But I recommend everybody at least to give it a try. Today, this is eaten like a snack for special occasions. But before, this was eaten like with a meal, like for something extra. And this is so healthy that you can't eat too much. It's often the shark was eaten like with a food that was like on the limit of being good or bad, or probably bad, because he helps the digestion. So there's a chemical company in Iceland who analyzes food, and according to them, the shark is the healthiest food that is made in Iceland.
And I just, you know, like when you have a really strong shot of alcohol and you get that kind of like burning.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at the moment. Is that quite a common thing?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
It's just like I kind of feel it in my heart and my soul now.
It is strong, and we want it strong.
Want it even stronger? Gudrun made me try some fermented shark cubes, dipped in Icelandic schnapps.
How much is too much to put in here?
Today, this is called brennivín, which would be translated in English like a burning wine. And this used to be called, in Iceland, svartidauði, or which would be black death. So you let it stay there for maybe 20 seconds, something like that. Just we are marinating the shark. Now it changes a little bit to maybe like a licorice flavor.
Yeah, that's really licorice. Yeah, that's exactly how it tastes. That's really nice.
Yeah.
This isn't your personal supply bottle, but
no.
Yeah.
What's also good is to have a piece of the shark and piece of the rye bread, the Icelandic rye bread. And then, of course, you know, the shark on its own.
Yeah.
It's the best.
You just love the shark so much.
This is my grandfather's shark fishing boat. He used to catch sharks and other fishes in this boat. The boat's name is Síldin, and which is herring in English. And he's first registered 1860. My grandfather bought this boat 1929. Then he was 19 years old. And then he had been working on this boat at least since he was 14.
It's a proper family business. Then.
Yeah. It's like shark has been involved with my family for 600 years, I guess.
Wow. And how did they used to catch it then? Yeah.
So they used hooks. This here, this is from my grandfather's shark fishing set. This is very old. And the chain had to be at least 3 meters. And they used usually a seal meat or a seal fat for a bait for the hook. And this was maybe 100 meters down. And they could feel when the shark was testing the bait. So they start to tease him until the shark swallows the bait.
I mean, this is a big boat. How big is a shark?
This boat is around 8 meters, and the Greenland shark is usually he's from 3 meters till maybe 5 meters long. This jaw here you go. This is from maybe 5 meter long shark.
Wow. That's massive.
Yeah, and this one is then from, I would guess 4 meters.
And these, I mean, would these hurt humans or?
So the Greenland shark, he lives so deep that he's not in our swimming waters. And this is his lower jaw. And you see here, they're always growing a new set of teeth here. And the teeth, they grow up, and he changes his teeth around every 3 weeks. They just flip over, and the old ones, they just fall off. So he's got somewhere around, I don't know, 4,000 set of teeth over his lifetime or more. And this is his skin. That is very interesting. Like, you can stroke the skin one way, but it's harder to stroke it the other.
Oh yeah, there's some more resistance one way. It's like sandpaper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is just all my life. Just shark.
We're here in West Iceland, and we're going to go and visit a creamery making traditional Skyr. Now, Skyr is an Icelandic yogurt cheese, and it's so unusual that it's not even really a cheese. So let's go and find out how it's made. Sharing his Skyr knowledge with me is Pógubba Einar Gottbjartsson. His creamery was first devoted to making ice cream, but he later started to make skyr with the leftover milk as a fun way to preserve it.
Why do we make skyr in Iceland? It's basically, it was to store the milk after you have taken the cream off to make it into butter. Butter was the currency, and butter is only maybe 3% of the milk quantity. So you have a 97% skim milk left. That's a lot. You have to store it somehow. Preserving, making food, it's in my genes. My ancestors are farmers, and it gives you really good fulfill at the end when you see the storage. I have enough for the winter. I can provide my family, my kids, myself with everything.
Einar makes skyr once a week all year round, and more often in the summer. He starts the process by separating the milk from its cream and then pasteurizing it.
Pasteurization temperature is about 63 to 72 degrees Celsius, but we need the milk to be around 50 degrees when we separate it. Otherwise it has an influence on the texture of the cream. If it's too low, for example, you will have less cream, and if it's too high, you will also have less cream, as the fat molecules, they will sort of go on a big party in the heat, so they don't know what to do. The fat is lighter in weight than the milk. So what happens in here is that we have a spinning rotator in there, centrifuge or separator, which goes very fast. And by spinning the milk like this, it will throw out the fat molecules.
Right.
They will go. And the main source of the milk, which is water, will remain in there and go out the other way as skim milk into the tank. The cream we get out of the machine is about 53 to 56% cream. So it's a little bit heavier than normal cream you have in the buckets today for your pudding or whatever. The cream we then take into the cellar and store it until we make ice cream. This is usually one of the moments I enjoy myself in the creamery. It's because I like cream.
Oh, right, it's like cream, yeah. It looks very perfect coming out.
Yeah. Smooth and nice.
The whole process of making skyr, how long does it take?
It takes about 24 to 30 hours.
30 hours?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Right.
Phase one.
Done. Yeah. The skim milk then cools down at 40 degrees for half an hour.
I have here skyr from last week, leftover, which I use as a starter every time I make a new batch. So I will just pour it in here. And then we stir it.
And how long will you leave that for now?
Now it will sit for maybe 4, 5, 6 hours. I will come here after 4 hours and have a look at the calculator. So as soon as the whey starts to come out of the product, it's ready to cool down and start the next process. And now we just have to wait until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'll see you then.
It's because 23 hours of sunlight, you just don't sleep in the summer though.
I avoid sleeping in the summertime as much as I can. I really enjoy, for example, at 1 o'clock last night, I went outside here with my cup of coffee. There was no wind, there was not a sound from the birds, as the birds had already fallen asleep. So I was just sitting out there. You realize, what life is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be enjoying the nature.
After fermenting, the milk needs to be cooled down to 20 degrees to stop the fermentation. And then it's stirred for 3 or 4 hours to get a smoother texture. The following morning, the milk is poured in these linen bags, which allow the whey to slowly drain out.
You can see it's already floating in the whey. See, it's draining out. The main thing we used the Skyr whey for in the past was to preserve food. You boil the food and then you store it in the barrel this way. The consistence of the product at the moment is the same as yogurt. So and the phase making yogurt and Skyr is the same take it out into the bags.
And then it changes after that. It becomes something different.
Yeah. The bacteria are different from the start.
Because that's when it stops being yogurt and starts being Skyr.
Yeah. It becomes a cheese.
It's like just a sack of jelly. Yeah. That is, I just kind of want to lay down in there. It's very satisfying. It's like a nice, really soft, wobbly pillow. Yeah.
This is what I will need next week, or when I produce Skyr next time. And now you can see the consistency of the milk. You know, you see how smooth it is. We want it to be like silk. You can also see the small particles.
Oh yeah, you can see them in there.
It looks like you have poured sugar or salt over it. All this will be gone, and those small items have joined together successfully into what we call Skyr.
The Skyr in the bags can take 10 to 20 hours to fully drain out. A bag that previously weighed 20 kilos would now weigh just 5.
As you remember yesterday, when we put the coagulated milk in here, it was a full bag with smooth surface, and you wanted to sleep on it. But now you don't want to sleep on it. All the liquid is gone, and this is the dry stuff we have remaining.
Wow, it's like a clay. Yeah.
It is. This is exactly what we want it to look like. We want it to be flexible like this, you know. It's still smooth enough so it will float around. It's not gonna stay as a block. If I would have it sit for maybe 4 or 5 hours more in the bag, it might be more like a block. And then it would be more difficult to put it in the packaging. And you would also need to add more liquid to it when you mix it up for consuming. This is a final product. You can just take it as it is now and eat it. You can also add some to it if you want for flavoring. For example, if you have some, what's your favorite taste in fruits?
I like lemon. It's like a lemon sorbet kind of taste.
Yeah, you could add lemons to it, and then you would have lemon tasting Skyr.
Nice.
This is the final product, ready for consuming. Nice. And I'm gonna give you a little taste of it.
Yeah, nice.
I can hear that you are hungry. This is a rhubarb syrup we make from our own harvest. And even though Skyr is sour and rhubarb is sour, but when you make the syrup you add some sugar to it. So with this together it will be really tasteful. But before we add to it, you taste it.
Good. Yeah. It actually tasted really yogurty. It's just a nice, thick, like creamy yogurt.
But there is no cream in it. It's skim
I
milk.
know. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Thick,
people always
thick
talk about
yogurt.
how creamy Skyr is, but there is no cream in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a little bit more.
So much being fed.
I'm gonna add this on top. So now. And now you're gonna have something really
enjoyable.
That's great. That's really, really nice. That's super sweet.
We have a saying, þeir sletta skyrinu sem eiga það.
Okay, I'm not even going to try and attempt to say that. But
It means literally those who have the ability of doing something, they do it. For example, I can make skyr, so I do it. You know, and I do it literally, and I try to do it as good as I possibly can.
We're in Monopoli, Italy, a beautiful coastal town in the region of Puglia, which is the region where burrata cheese is from. Burrata is one of those foods that has a very short shelf life. It has to be eaten fresh the same day. So trying a burrata here in Puglia is truly a culinary experience. And trust me, I'm from around here, but I live abroad, and I've tried countless times to bring them with me in my suitcases, and they've never been as good as the ones that I've tried here. So today we're going to do exactly that. We're going to visit a local dairy and get our own burrata experience. Let's go!
In Italy, we met with Vincenzo Titrani, son, grandson and great-grandson of cheesemakers and owner of Mozzabella. His dairy produces about 500 kilos of fresh cheese every day. Vincenzo and his team start the day way before the sun is up. At 4 a.m., the milk has been acidified and it is ready to be split into curds. It now rests in this vat at 35 degrees with a whey starter and rennet.
Noi usiamo solo il metodo, un vecchio metodo, che è il siero innesto, invece di usare additivi chimici tipo acido citrico, acido lattico e quant'altro. Noi usiamo il siero del giorno prima per poterlo acidificare il latte il giorno dopo, perché per la burrata il latte va acidificato, altrimenti non fila.
Che strumento utilizzi?
Questo è uno strumento apposito fatto in acciaio per poter tagliare la cagliata, si chiama cestino, poi ognuno ha il suo nome, in base alle regioni ha il suo nome.
Quindi
Da
qui
noi
si chiama
cestino.
così. È meglio tagliare la cagliata così piuttosto che utilizzare, non so...
La chitarra, dipende dai formaggi va utilizzata la chitarra, dei formaggi va usato il cestino, ci sono diverse tipologie di taglio.
Ah, ma quindi prima usi la parte, diciamo, più piccola?
Sì, questo è il primo taglio. Questo serve a far rinforzare la proteina del latte, in modo che nel secondo taglio non rilascia latte, ma è già bello forte.
Quindi questo lo utilizzerai domani?
Questo siero, parte di questo siero lo utilizzo domani. Così diamo un secondo taglio. Continuiamo a rinforzare sempre il reticolo della proteina, molto lentamente.
Ma si deve proprio
allora, in base al
ecco,
la grandezza del chicco va in base al tipo di formaggi. Se facciamo dei formaggi stagionati deve essere come un chicco di riso. Se facciamo dei formaggi molli, allora lo possiamo fare quanto una noce, oppure quanto un fagiolo, dipende dai formaggi.
Per la burrata invece,
per
che
la
tipo
burrata
di dimensione?
va alla misura del fagiolo.
Quindi ci siamo quasi.
Quasi, sì. Il taglio della cagliata è importante al 50% sulla riuscita del formaggio, quindi ha un buon valore.
Esatto, sì. Ma questi non sono i pezzettini che ritroviamo là nella burrata,
No,
giusto?
no. Questo è per creare l'involucro della burrata. È la parte interna, però mischiata con la panna, che poi facciamo in un secondo momento. Diciamo che per fare la burrata non è solo il taglio.
Our cheese curds have reached their desired bean size. They will now have to rest in the whey for 1.5 hours. Vincenzo uses this time to take out part of the liquid whey, adding milk to it and transform it into ricotta.
Quanto manca adesso?
Adesso vediamo, facciamo la prova e vediamo quanto manca.
Perché è passata una mezz'oretta.
Facciamo prova a filatura.
Quindi questa è acqua calda.
Acqua calda a 90 gradi. Abbiamo bisogno ancora di 3/4 d'ora.
Da cosa te ne accorgi?
Vedi? Dal tipo di filatura, perché rompe ancora.
Ah, invece non
deve
dovrebbe
filare
rompersi.
senza rompersi.
While the curd is still resting in its whey, to reach the perfect stretchability, A part of it is taken out to make the inside of the burrata. These are called sfilaccetti and are little shreds of frayed, stretched curd which will be salted and mixed with cream to make stracciatella. Vincenzo uses 90-degree water to stretch the curd.
Ma quindi se la lavorazione comunque è la stessa, perché questa è la stessa cagliata, come mai poi nella burrata troviamo la parte esterna e la parte interna diverse?
No, la lavorazione è uguale, perché la lavorazione per farlo della stracciatella è la lavorazione della mozzarella, è solo l'aggiunta di panna. Per comodità si fanno degli sfilaccetti lunghi dove è più facile sfilacciare.
Ah, quindi la parte interna della burrata, gli sfilaccetti. Oh, guarda, si inizia già a filare adesso. Questo attrezzo in legno, come si chiama?
Si chiama stecca. Da noi si chiama stecca.
Ed è fatto apposta proprio per fare la
Sì, è di legno di faggio, sì.
Quanto tempo ci vuole a filarla?
Allora, dipende. Questa che è un po' più acerba per poter fare gli sfilaccetti, un po' di più. E quando faremo la burrata, per fare l'involucro,
perché più tempo passa nel siero,
è più,
più è facile poi maneggiarla. Sì. Qui dentro c'è acqua calda, però adesso la stai mettendo nel ghiaccio.
Nell'acqua fredda,
acqua fredda.
Per raffreddarla, sì.
Perché altrimenti continua la filatura.
No, altrimenti non si può sfilacciare per fare la stracciatella se non è ben fredda.
Ah sì, deve essere fredda?
Sì.
Però poi quando va inserita nella burrata invece
la burrata
sarà
è calda. Sì, certo.
Ah ok, quindi c'è un contrasto di caldo
sì.
e freddo. E con l'acqua...
Giochiamo con le temperature, sì. Molto qua.
Infatti qua fa caldissimo. Se potessi mi ci butterei io dentro questa acqua fredda.
Each piece of curd is then frayed one by one. And here we have our sfilaccetti.
Questa cosa non si potrebbe mai fare a macchina.
A macchina si può fare, hanno inventato la macchina.
Veramente?
Sì, solo che non ha lo stesso effetto perché viene un po' sbriciolata. Invece la vera burrata
sì, certo.
deve essere sfilacciata. Purtroppo in questo mestiere il tempo è un ingrediente.
Sì.
Anche l'attesa della cagliata è un ingrediente quello, perché quell'attesa
certo, sì.
non fa altro che rinforzare la cagliata, puoi mettere un po' di sale in più, ha un sapore diverso. È come il pane con lievito madre
sì,
e
esatto.
il pane con lievito di birra. E quello fa in un attimo, quello invece ha bisogno di 2 giorni magari.
È vero,
per poter
vero.
lievitare.
Quindi
è
lo
uguale,
stesso concetto lo applichi anche
sì.
ai formaggi freschi, la mozzarella, la burrata, eccetera. Ma quindi questo sarebbe il ripieno di tutte le burrate della giornata? Quindi comunque...
O così oppure affumicata.
Cioè proprio così la stracciatella
stracciatella affumicata.
Ah, la stracciatella affumicata esiste. Non l'ho mai mangiata così, affumicata.
Buona affumicata.
Now that we have our inside, it's finally time to take care of the casing of the burrata.
Ma sembra già più morbida effettivamente.
Molto più morbida.
Ma invece tu che stai sollevando la stecca come la senti? La senti più pesante?
No, è chiaro, si sente molto la differenza.
Sì.
Ma già dal livello di lucentezza si vede.
Ah sì, è vero. Non perché adesso è un po' più tardi, quindi c'è la fotogiorno e si vede di più.
Questa per la burrata che devi avere appena diciamo la buccia un po' più rinforzata, la facciamo così. La mozzarella devi ancora scendere ancora un po' di pH.
Ancora di più?
Sì.
Quindi per la mozzarella
bisogna
aspettare ancora di più.
When the casing is ready, all it takes is a swift movement to add in the stracciatella prepared previously. This is the first burrata of the day at Vincenzo's Dairy.
Adesso dalla rimanenza delle burratine ti faccio vedere da dove viene il nostro marchio di fabbrica.
Che cosa stai facendo adesso? Una mozzarella?
Adesso ti faccio vedere.
Vediamo un po'. Uno spirale.
È una rosa.
Bellissima.
Te la dono.
Mi fai un mazzo magari, questo mazzo di rose mi piacerebbe riceverlo, più dei fiori. È una burrata a forma di rosa, ci avete
Si
pensato?
può fare, come no, certo.
Sì.
Lo possiamo fare ovunque.
Come mai la rosa?
Perché mi veniva bene questo tipo di testa di scamorza e da lì è partito il mio marchio, che è unica, non la fa nessuno.
Quindi questa è stata un'idea tua? Questi sono 200 grammi.
Anche 300.
Anche 300. Vabbè, non siamo timidi. Da quanti anni la fai?
Da piccolo. Che faccio questo mestiere sono quasi 35 anni. È una cosa che viene tramandata di padre in figlio da 3 generazioni. Il primo casaro della mia famiglia era nato nel 1860, qualcosa del genere.
Questa è una burrata fresca?
E questa è appena fatta, l'abbiamo fatta ora.
Wow, guarda questa panna, incredibile. C'è un sacco di stracciatella dentro. Sì. Sono abituata alle burrate che si trovano all'estero, che sono proprio tutta panna.
No, allora, quella è la
terribile.
differenza che ti dicevo della macchina.
Sì.
Quando viene tritata a macchina la stracciatella diventa come una cremina. Invece
sì.
fatta a mano e questa è la vera stracciatella.
Wow, fantastica. Questa non si può assaggiare,
Certo,
no?
assaggia.
Questa è la mia colazione. Sai, quando sono andata in Spagna mi hanno fatto fare colazione con il prosciutto, prosciutto e olio. Giustamente qua in Puglia, caffè e burrata.
Burrata.
Incredibile.
È come un cappuccino.
Sì, il latte c'è. Beh, alla salute.
Buon appetito.
Andato via. Buonissima. It's so creamy, it's incredible. You don't feel that there is like the small little pieces and the outside part which is harder. It melts in your mouth.
Non ha un sapore piatto come se fatta con l'acido citrico, ma ha un sapore un po' più acidulo. Insomma, a livello di sapidità è superiore. Poi noi abbiamo il latte dei pascoli, non abbiamo il latte delle mucche chiuse nelle stalle. Abbiamo meno resa, meno proteine, più grassi, un valore di colorante un po' superiore, però la sapidità è irraggiungibile.
I don't know why I moved abroad. I should just live here and have burrata for breakfast every morning. We're in Corato, Puglia, Italy, and today I'm going to meet with Isabella and her family, who are going to show me how they make their tomato sauce in their garden. Finding a family that makes traditional tomato sauce from their own tomatoes in their own house has become pretty rare, sadly, here in Italy. This is such a fascinating tradition, and most of all, it is the original way to make it. So they've got about 20 kilos of tomatoes ready for us. Let's go and turn them into sauce.
Making tomato sauce from scratch is a laborious process that takes several hours. From hand-picking each tomato to adding basil leaves into jars one by one. It has a far greater meaning than just preserving the harvest of the summer. For Isabella, her mother Dina, and her daughter Federica, it is a bonding experience that brings together 3 generations.
Quanti anni sono che voi fate la passata tutti insieme?
Allora, io personalmente una vita, me lo ricordo da bambina.
Isabella and her family planted 80 plants of tomatoes this year. From them, they have harvested about 200 kilos of tomatoes. After seeding in the spring, tomato plants need 2 or 3 months to mature, depending on weather conditions. This is their 3rd harvest of the summer.
È il colore per cui tu capisci che lo puoi raccogliere.
Più è maturo, quindi più è rosso e maturo, e più il pomodoro diventa dolce.
E sono tutti la stessa varietà?
No, abbiamo 3 varietà. Abbiamo il pomodoro tranese, il pomodoro San Marzano, che è questo, e il ciliegino. E di là invece abbiamo anche il pomodoro regina.
Quindi avete
una 4ª varietà. Sì, abbiamo tutte le varietà.
Crescono tutti insieme in armonia?
Sì, crescono tutti insieme, hanno bisogno soltanto di molto sole e molta acqua.
La varietà di pomodori ideale però per fare la passata è il San Marzano, no?
Il
Perché
San
non
Marzano
ha semi.
e il tranese.
Anche il tranese?
Sì, sì.
Quindi questi sono i pomodori con cui faremo la passata oggi?
Sì, sono stati raccolti 2 giorni fa.
2 giorni fa?
Sì, e bisogna attendere un po' perché deve decantare il pomodoro, diventa ancora più maturo e più dolce. E si tiene raccolto all'ombra.
Ah, deve riposare,
sì, deve
praticamente
riposare
un
per
po',
2 o 3
ok.
giorni, sì sì. Adesso li prendiamo e li bolliamo.
Vuoi una mano?
Ok.
Ah, qui ci sono varie varietà, ci
Sì,
sono San Marzano.
Ci sono San Marzano, ciliegino,
Ah, vedi, questo è un
Regina.
tranese perché ha la punta.
Sì, sì, sì.
Sto diventando pure io un'esperta di pomodori.
Certo.
Ma voi non fate differenza, fate tutte insieme?
No, la mischiamo ed è anche più buona.
Anche con i Regina?
Sì, sì.
Ma i Regina non si fanno le insalate?
Ecco, Regina.
Quelli sono i miei preferiti.
Ok.
Andiamo.
All together, the tomatoes are then boiled over a fire in this big pot.
Questo pentolone è di 50 anni fa.
50 anni fa?
Sì, sì.
E li fanno ancora così?
Ma sinceramente non lo so, comunque è un pentolone del nonno, di mio nonno.
Senti, ma qui non c'è tanta acqua, cioè come fanno a bollire i pomodori?
Perché adesso devo mettere il coperchio sulla pentola e il pomodoro caccia la sua acqua, quindi si cuoce nella sua acqua, quindi è più saporito.
E quanto tempo ci mette?
5 minuti.
5 minuti?
Sì, sì.
Quindi una cosa veloce?
Sì.
Ok, andiamo. Quindi adesso sono pronti?
Sì.
Vediamo. Wow.
Come puoi vedere
c'è molta più acqua.
Bolle, c'è molta più acqua perché il pomodoro ha cacciato la sua acqua. Quindi il pomodoro adesso è pronto per essere scolato. Adesso mi aiuta mia figlia.
Quindi passi la tradizione di generazione in generazione.
Biscotti.
Ma questa è la tua prima volta?
No, io diciamo la prima salsa che ho fatto è stata quando avevo 8 anni più o meno e il mio compito era quello di mettere, tra un po' vedremo, il basilico nelle bottiglie e di girare la manovella della macchina per passare la salsa.
E adesso ti hanno dato una promozione o fai sempre quello?
È la prima volta che diciamo aiuto a scolare,
vedi?
sì.
Okay. Oggi è un giorno speciale, andiamo.
Allora, vedi là? Questo è il contenitore per raccogliere il passato di pomodoro, è un contenitore tipico coratino, antico, chiamato in dialetto coratino ukandaried.
Ma non si potrebbe usare un qualsiasi contenitore?
No, perché questo è di un materiale particolare che non altera il sapore del passato.
Ah, e di che materiale è?
È di terracotta.
E questo anche di famiglia?
Sì, questo ha almeno 60 anni.
Ok, quindi questo è ancora più
anziano
più rispetto all'altro.
Sì, sì. Ok.
Once drained, the tomatoes are placed in this strainer, which will separate the pulp from the skin and the seeds. It looks like Federica's task got another upgrade, and she's now in charge of pushing the tomatoes in the machine, while Nonna Dina supervises.
Vedi quanto si è riempito. Per ultimo si fa così. Ok. E adesso si sala.
Ma perché alla fine hai messo un pezzettino di scorza di pomodoro?
Per far sì che venisse fuori tutto il pomodoro che era all'interno della macchina.
Ah, perché altrimenti non esce.
Altrimenti non
per dargli
esce
una
tutto.
spinta.
Sì. E poi si aggiunge anche un po' di zucchero per togliere acidità al pomodoro. Un cucchiaino di zucchero.
Vediamo di sale com'è. Quei pochi pomodori.
Che bella. E questi quanti sono? Quanti chili sono?
Questi erano 13 kg di pomodori.
13 kg.
Però vedi quanta salsa.
Vedi quanta salsa.
Quanti boccacci riusciamo a riempire?
Penso tutti quelli che abbiamo.
Una decina?
Sì.
The family uses any kind of container they can find in their pantry, from old honey jars to Coke bottles. Before being filled with the tomato sauce, they are filled with the best possible basil leaves Federica can pick from the garden. This is to add flavor to the sauce.
Una foglia solamente?
Una foglia sì, perché poi si sentirebbe troppo e quindi il sapore della salsa verrebbe coperto. Quindi mettiamo soltanto una foglia.
Per barattolo,
Per barattolo. Sì. Togliamo il picciolo, diciamo, e mettiamo una foglia intera.
Ma quindi questo è il tuo ruolo, mettere il basilico?
Questo era il mio ruolo da quando ero piccola.
Da bambina?
Sì.
Quindi tu hai selezionato le foglie migliori di basilico, no? Ormai sei abituata.
Le lavavo, le strizzavo, quindi era il mio compito. Questi barattoli hanno questo tappo che possiamo chiudere manualmente. Invece queste bottiglie hanno bisogno di uno strumento un po' più particolare.
Che sarebbe questo?
Qui. Tappabottiglie si chiama, non ha un nome particolare.
Un nome scientifico,
Però,
un nome in dialetto? No.
Tappabottiglie.
Va bene,
Però
va bene.
è uno strumento molto antico, era del mio bisnonno e sono più di 50 anni che lo utilizziamo nel fare la salsa. Si mette un tappo di lattina e si mette sotto, c'è tipo una calamita che se lo prende.
The freshly prepared sauce is then scooped into the jars.
Quindi quanti anni sono che voi fate la passata tutti insieme?
Allora, io personalmente una vita, me lo ricordo da bambina.
Sempre in famiglia?
Sì, sì.
E lei signora invece quanto tempo? C'è anche lei quando era bambina?
81 anni.
Quindi sono 81
Prima
anni.
si lavorava di più. Prima si passava a mano la salsa.
A mano?
Sì, stava in un recipiente adatto. Come lo faccio vedere, che è rimasto per ricordo il di sopra e si passava con le mani.
Con le mani?
Con le mani.
Invece adesso
Poi
c'è la
poi uscì la
macchinetta.
macchinetta.
Quindi questo già comunque è più moderno, una maniera più moderna.
Facevamo i quintali lo stesso, tutta passata a mano, che si rompevano le dita.
Ma quanto tempo ci mettevate con le mani?
Sai.
Tantissimo. Stavate giorni
Poi
interi.
le bottiglie erano con il tappo di sughero, le dovevi legare con lo spago. Io, il lavoro mio, a legare le bottiglie.
Ah, solo legare le bottiglie?
Alla fine, perché le sapevo legare.
Da bambina.
Potevo avere 15-16 anni.
E poi invece con gli anni ha
Adesso
scalato le
arrivata a
posizioni.
81.
E la bottiglia?
Questa è la bottiglia che abbiamo riempito e andiamo ad utilizzare il tappo a bottiglia.
Momento della verità.
Il tappo l'abbiamo già messo sotto per la calamita. Mettiamo così, deve essere dritto. E poi andiamo a premere forte. Quando abbiamo sentito il tic, vuol dire che ha aderito bene.
Eccolo.
E il tappo appare sulla nostra bottiglia.
Adesso è sigillato.
Adesso
chiuso.
è sigillato, possiamo utilizzare qualsiasi tipo di tappo. L'importante è che non
infatti.
sia troppo rovinato, perché
Quindi-
se no non si attacca bene alla bottiglia. E poi mettiamo...
Quello che si passava la salsa.
Ah,
Stava
sì.
la base sotto, questo lo poggiavi sopra e con le
E tu
mani.
dovevi spingere.
Era tutto manuale prima.
Poi è piccolino.
E questo è tutto rotto, lo teniamo
Sì,
giusto per
ricordo, no?
ricordo della...
Che materiale è questo?
È alluminio.
Alluminio. Leggero.
Alluminio.
To make sure they can be preserved for a long time, the jars are given a final boil for 15 minutes. This will also sterilize them.
Appena bolle deve trascorrere un quarto d'ora di bollitura e poi si lasciano raffreddare sino a domani.
E li lasci nel pentolone con
In quel
l'acqua?
pentolone, sì, sì.
Quindi
con
non vengono
l'acqua.
toccati?
No, non vengono toccati sino al raffreddamento completo. E poi sono pronti per essere conservati, però devono essere tenuti sotto controllo per una settimana i boccacci. C'è il rischio che possano esplodere.
Per una questione di aria che è entrata, che non sono
Eh
stati
sì,
chiusi
che
proprio
non sono stati chiusi
ermeticamente.
bene. E ora copriamo. Questa è la passata che è stata prodotta la settimana scorsa, come vedi è già controllata per bene, quindi non c'è acqua all'interno.
Quanti ne avete fatti quest'anno?
Di boccacci? Di boccacci ne abbiamo fatti più di un centinaio. Totale 2 quintali e 20 kg di pomodori.
Per voi,
adesso
la
siamo
famiglia.
a posto almeno per 1 anno e mezzo.
Ecco, si vedono le foglie di basilico.
Sì, sì.
Si vede ancora un po' la polpa del pomodoro,
Certo.
no? Non è completamente liquido.
Certo. No,
non deve essere liquido.
Non deve essere liquido, no. Deve
essere...
avere una consistenza media, né troppo liquido né troppo denso.
Siete fortunati, sicuramente da voi la
Dopo
lasagna,
tanto lavoro,
la pasta al pomodoro ha un sapore completamente diverso.
Buonissima,
no?
molto molto buona, ottima.
We're in Bari, Italy, and today we're going to see how fresh pasta is made. Today is a very special day because this is my own town, and I'm going to take you to a local gem, a small alley in the old town where grannies make fresh pasta by hand. That's right, they are there all day, sort of, with their hands in the dough. They know everything about pasta making, they know everything about this historic neighborhood, but most of all, they are the coolest grannies you could stumble upon while walking down the street. Let's go meet them.
Questa è la nostra bottega, un nostro settane, il nostro tutto, addicente alla strada, vedi? Un passo e stiamo fuori, un passo e stiamo dentro. Questa è un'arte che non bisogna accantonare, anzi, ce l'hanno donata, la dobbiamo custodire e trasmettere, ma purtroppo non tutti ascoltano.
One could say that Nunzia is the official standard bearer. In January 2020, she crossed the Atlantic to New York to share her pasta making skills with the world. Today, I meet her in her house, where she shows me how she makes Bari's most emblematic pasta shape, orecchiette with semolina flour.
Qua quanto c'è di farina, quanto c'è d'acqua?
Niente, quello che prende, perché se fa caldo e c'è umidità, la semola non assorbe troppa acqua, quindi non ti so dare mai un calcolo preciso, dipende dall'ambiente, dalla temperatura che sta.
Quindi oggi, che qui a Bari fa caldissimo,
prenderà
poca acqua. Poi l'acqua già è
non
calda.
si mette, le uova non si mettono, solo a impastare olio di gomito. E questa è pasta fatta in casa. Io ero una bambina, non avevo manco 6 anni, per volontà di mia nonna diventai una pastaia. Da quell'età dividevo la mia vita tra scuola, che io volevo studiare e non me lo permetteva, e orecchiette. Mi sono sposato, ho i figli, i nipoti, e anche loro continuano a fare la pasta. Adesso poi va di moda il grano arso, va di moda la farina agli spinaci, alla carota, al peperoncino, integrale.
Tantissime.
Ci siamo un pochino assortiti di più, però quella ad hoc, quella tradizionale, secondo me è la migliore. Ed è questa.
Ma quando fai la pasta alle orecchiette con le altre farine, che differenza noti?
I colori.
Solamente
i colori, quella è la differenza, perché lavorare questo tipo di semola o quel tipo di farina è la stessa cosa. Vedi, una volta fatto l'impasto non devi aspettare che devi lievitare perché non c'è lievito, non c'è bisogno di farla riposare, cominciamo già a graminare.
Graminare, che cosa vuol dire?
A lisciare, vedi,
così.
a togliere la ruvidità della semola. Poi si fanno questi serpentini a seconda la misura.
Ah, perché la semola è ruvida, quindi se non
gramini... perciò non mettiamo il sale, perché col sale questo grano così granuloso, col sale spacca e ci vuole proprio un polso, non c'è il bimbi, non c'è niente che possa sostituire le
ma qua le hai già fatte le orecchiette? Sono già pronte?
Sì.
Cioè in 5 minuti?
Questa è la misura regolare, quella più gettonata che emerge sia con la verdura, col ragù, con
il ragù di braciola,
il piatto doc domenicale di Barese, ma pure con basilico e pomodorino, con rucola, col cavolo, col fungo, è la misura più giusta. Poi c'è quella un po' più grande che la facciamo sbollentata nell'acqua e poi la condiamo.
Queste sono quelle grosse?
Sì, con mozzarella e un sughetto molto leggero che devono navigare, non devono prendere la crosticina, se no diventa duro, deve essere piuttosto morbido.
Così poi hai tutto il sugo all'interno, il condimento all'interno. Buono.
Poi ci sono i cavatelli e poi ti faccio vedere l'orecchietta alla foggiana, che tutta la Puglia le fa girate sul dito, così.
Sì.
Questo è un altro tipo di orecchiette. Ma
Perché
non è
queste sono quelle
originale.
baresi. Perché queste sono leggermente più piatte, no?
No, le nostre
no.
sono più ruvide, hanno più la rugosità sullo strascinare, invece questa viene girata ed è più liscia.
Ah, è vero, è vero.
Vedi la differenza
sì,
qual
sì.
è?
Quindi questa è una
Questa è quella
barese
doc, la
di qua,
nostra, e questa è quella girata. Tutta la Puglia le fa così.
tranne
Solo noi
che a
a
Bari.
Bari.
Cioè, la dimensione varia a seconda del pollice, della
No,
pastaia
no,
che lo fa.
a parte il pollice, la misura che faccio della sticina. Se la faccio più piccola non mi viene... Aspetta, se
questo non
fortuna.
sta bene.
Perché quando ci sono le unghie si buca.
Devi stare attento.
Devi
cioè.
stare attento, bravo. Molti pensano che con le unghie possono farle, le orecchiette, invece no. Bisogna avere le manicure da tavolino. Niente smalto, niente unghie lunghe, niente fornetti, niente gel. Tutta a mano libera.
Altrimenti qua
sbagli tutto.
Riempi tutto di buchi con le
Infatti.
unghie, quindi io non posso fare niente. Mi devo tagliare le unghie.
Poi c'è l'altra misura più piccola ancora, questa qua, che va bene con la ricotta.
Ancora più piccola,
sì. Poi c'è il cavatello.
E queste come si mangiano? Con la ricotta?
Questo con la ricotta, una grattata di limone e zucchero.
Ma tu quante orecchiette fai al giorno?
Tante, tante, non te lo so dire qua. La mia serata non è mai sul divano a guardare la TV, perché il mio tavolino è questo, la TV sta lì, guardo fuori, faccio le orecchiette, guardo la TV. Pensate, 3 azioni in uno.
Come si dice in inglese, fai multitasking.
Ecco.
Esatto.
Faccio più tutte cose, si dice.
Così si dice. Vabbè, più o meno il significato è lo stesso.
Quello.
Once ready, the orecchiette need to rest at room temperature to dry, sometimes overnight, sometimes for a few hours or few minutes. It all depends on the weather.
Una volta che le faccio, ci sono dei telai che noi chiamiamo retine e il tempo permettendo le mettiamo fuori, se no ci aiutiamo con un ventilatore o la stufetta. Le cosfetate come vai a un campeggio che fai, ti adatta a quegli spazi. E così noi, questa è la nostra bottega, un nostro settane, il nostro tutto, addicente alla strada, vedi? Un passo e stiamo fuori, un passo e stiamo dentro.
Eh sì, perché queste sono le case proprio di Bari,
Su Spenza
di
Posto,
Bari
le
vecchi.
case di Bari vecchie. E i locali non vengono chiamati locali ma sottani di Bari vecchie, sì.
Negli ultimi anni,
Io
siccome il quartiere...
62 anni che viviamo qui. Mia nonna, buonanima, poi è rimasta mamma, adesso sto io che divido la mia casa da un passo, lì ci abito
Qua
e
lavori.
qui ci vivo. Sono costretta un po' per il lavoro, un po' per badare a lei, sto sempre qua.
Sì.
La cosa che a me manca è stato proprio quello studio, non me l'hanno permesso.
Però adesso grazie alle orecchiette io so che tu stai viaggiando tantissimo.
È stata una bellissima esperienza, un giorno venne un certo Luca di Puglia Turismo promozione e disse: Nunzia, devi venire con noi in America. In America io che dicevo il mondo gira intorno a Nunzia, ma Nunzia va in America. Dice sì, devi venire, è una grande fiera internazionale, tu devi rappresentare la Puglia a New York. E io mi sono sentita così piccola perché indietreggiai tutta la troupe che stava di giornalisti e non, e invece il console mi chiama, mi dice: Nunzia, vieni qua, io voglio conoscere te.
Questa è una tradizione antica, cioè è importante preservarla.
È una delle bellezze di Bari, a noi ci distinguono e ci conoscono tramite queste benedette orecchiette. In tutto il mondo conoscono le orecchiette.
Se non ci fossero orecchiette, Bari sarebbe molto più povera.
Infatti. Speriamo di tenere duro e di trasmettere.
Ma io posso provare?
Prova.
Mi fai vedere? Mi spieghi come si fa però, perché io proprio...
Sì, prendi il coltello innanzitutto.
Ok.
Avvicina l'indice.
Di quale mano?
Questo qua.
Ah, di questo?
Avanti al coltello. Tira, tira, tira. Ecco il cavatello.
Ah, questo è un cavatello?
È un cavatello. Che la cospio. Insomma. Diciamo che
insomma, che
bene.
brutto,
Insomma.
c'ha un ciuffettino, dai, è un cavatello un po' alternativo.
Ma non pensare che è una bacchetta magica. Qui bisogna allenarsi.
Ma mi fai fare un'orecchietta?
Come un bravo
invece?
calciatore per fare dei gol che fa si allena, e così per le orecchiette, mica esce subito.
Meno male, se no.
Fai anche l'orecchietta, è più
Ok,
difficile.
a
Perché
posto.
gli devi dare la forma e strascinarlo
Alla fine.
con 2 dita.
Ok.
Vai, vediamo un po'.
Vediamo, ma quindi, aspetta, madonna, sto sudando.
Come
Mamma
un
mia.
esame.
Sì. Beh.
Cavatello.
Che cos'è?
Eh no, viene così.
Non ha nessuna forma.
Non
C'è
c'è-
da apprezzare, insomma, questa
Sto
manualità.
caldo, guarda, è più faticoso fare la pasta. Ma quando stai dentro, ben raccolta, il freddo, è piacevole.
Sì, si rilassa. Quando la sai fare, altrimenti sei lì con l'ansia, oddio.
The first batch of orecchiette is ready. The pasta is going to dry outside, which is Nunzio's official shop and showroom.
Però non mettere quello brutto che ho fatto io. Pure quello, vai.
Invece quando sono queste grosse bisogna mettere così. A posto. Non possiamo andare fuori.
Ma fino a che ora devi rimanere qua?
Dipende, da quando sta. Oggi c'ho poca voglia di lavorare, veramente.
Va bene,
Comunque
dai.
me la sono fatta uscire la voglia, va bene?
Ma meno male. Ma sicuramente perché siamo vestiti uguali. Quindi oggi
Abbiamo intonato anche con
il colore delle orecchie.
Ditelo che la Puglia è bella, i sapori di Bari sono buoni, sono genuini, sono gustosi. Venite, venite, venite. State buoni.
La vera tradizione barese che bisogna difendere. We're in London, England, and today we're going to see how jellied eels are made. If you think that fish and chips is the most traditional fish dish that you can get here in London, think again. Jellied eels and London have a history that is hundreds of years old, going back to the times where the eel population was thriving in the River Thames. Nowadays, there are not as many eels as there were in the past, but the dish has stood the test of time. Let's go see how it's made.
In their glory days, jellied eels were so popular that in the east end of London, competition among vendors was tough. Today, jellied eels can be found all over the UK at summer kiosks and racecourses, but there are only a handful of merchants who actually make them, all based in London. One of these is Barese, an East End institution run by Mark Button, by his father Eddie before him, and now Mark's son has even gotten involved. Despite the challenges, Mark believes that jellied eels are far from being on the verge of disappearing.
The eel has become harder to get. We used to have eels every day from Whitstable and Southend-on-Sea. They used to come up to London, literally, 1,000 kilos a day would come into London of fresh Thames eels, Thames estuary eels. But they're no longer there, they disappeared. The price of eels today are dearer than salmon. When my father took over the business in the 1960s, the man that sold him the business said, "I don't think there's much left of it, see what you can do." And that was in 1965, which I know is 55 years ago, because that's when I was born. 55 years later, we're still going on. We've now got the third generation in the business.
The first step to making jellied eels is to clean the fish, take the guts out, and cut the eels into portions.
These are the eels. I mean, they start off as live eels last night, but we have them stunned, so they are ready to work. Otherwise, if they were too movement, the boys couldn't work on them, it was too dangerous.
Oh, I see.
They're very sharp knives. They're fantastic to work, otherwise you'd never handle them. If
Yeah.
it was a live eel, if you picked them up, you'd be chasing them around the room.
Is it easier to clean than like a normal fish?
Well, these guys have been doing it for many years, so they find it easy. But even if you put a man who works with normal fish, flatfish, on this job, they would find it very hard. It's a different shaped fish, it's a different bone, it's the different pressures you put on the. You can see Simon at the end there, he uses a lot of strength in his arms and wrists to push it through.
All right, yeah, so they have different knives actually.
Yeah, this is like a filleted knife. And the guys here are cutting, they're using a cutting knife.
Oh, I see.
For every cut, there's hundreds and hundreds of cuts per day.
So they have to be sharp.
So they have to be very sharp. And they have to concentrate because you don't want to lose a digit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the finger is very close. I've read that the eels only have one bone.
With the jelly process, we leave the bone in and the customer eats around the bone.
Okay, so the part that you eat, is it just the beginning? Or you also eat
The flatter part is no good, so the pieces would start here, so from behind the gill, going back right the way through. So when you gut these pieces when they're cooked will be open, and these pieces when they're cooked will be round, which you'll see when I'll show
all
you the
right. So
difference.
you know where they
Some
come
people
from.
they call these the horseshoe pieces. So it looks like a horseshoe, which is open. That's where the food's been removed out of the belly.
And you leave the skin as well.
Leave the skin on. Yeah.
And where do they come from? They don't come from the Thames, right?
No, we haven't had any English eels for many years now. We get eels from Holland, and also we get wild eels from Northern Ireland, from Loch Ness. Well, this time of year, because they've taken on a winter coat, they've been feeding well and they're storing body fat, so they're very good high fat content, which gives the eel chance to migrate on a 6,000-7,000 mile journey, and they lose weight as they're swimming. But when they're a summer eel and they've been eating a lot of food, but they're not absorbing it, the meat will be thinner, but it will eat softer because they're not storing it, so it's not storing the fuel.
So this one will have more body, like
Yeah,
it will be more meaty.
More meaty, yeah. At the moment, we're processing about 300 kilos a day.
Once all the eels have been cut in portions, we move to this other room where they will be boiled in herb-infused water.
So we flavour the water with a bouquet garni, which is mainly parsley and pimentos.
Oh, so this
which has
is
got
yeah, I can smell it.
Smell the aroma.
And so the bag is never open, it stays closed in there just to flavour the water.
Just to flavour the water, then we remove that and the water's flavoured.
Okay.
We add the eels to it. Depending on the nature of the eel, this time of year they take a bit longer to cook, about 45-50 minutes.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, in the summer months it can be 30 minutes because the eel is softer because it's a summer eel. So explaining about the winter coat, they take a bit longer to cook to compensate to make the flesh softer. So we're slowly seeing the eels cook. The sediment is on the eel and that will be taken off and the fat's coming to the top as well. Like anything else you're skimming the fat off and it'll leave the juice clear for being decanted into the bowls.
It smells already like
you can
herby,
smell the parsley in the air, and because we've now got 4 pots on, the aroma here, I mean we haven't got smelly vision yet, but the aroma is quite pleasant.
Yeah, it doesn't smell like, I don't know, when you're doing a fish soup. No, not at all. It smells very fresh, like the parsley, as you said.
That's why you can smell the herbs.
Yeah. And will you add any more ingredients, or that is that? Like
No, the only thing Simon will add to this is salt.
Salt?
Yeah, and a bit nearer the end process rather than the beginning.
Wait, so how about the jelly? So you don't add any gelatin?
Yeah, we use the gelatin granule. Because of the commercial volume and setting them and travelling and shelf life, we have to use a granulated gelatin.
Okay, because I've read that the fish itself releases some...
If you was to cook one eel on its own, put it in the fridge overnight in the water you cook it in, it would jelly fly, but not to the point of sending it to Leigh-on-Sea or Clacton or Scotland or anywhere else. They've got to have shelf life now, so the gelatin powder suspends it with the salt and gives it a good shelf life.
Our jellied eel bowls are ready and they will now rest for about a day. Overnight, the gelatin was set and the eels will slowly float to the top.
So here we have yesterday's production, which are now jellied eels. They come in a bowl like this. We're ready for the main label with all the data on, which we've followed through on production.
And here they are.
But it's a sealed lid because we put them on hot, so the...
Oh.
And that is the
nice wiggle.
finished product there.
How many pieces of eels?
It's approximately 90 pieces.
Okay.
Approximately. It's done by eye and visual over the years. The person doing it gets a good eye to what's in there. If the eels are cut slightly bigger, there'll be slightly less pieces.
Yeah.
These are a good winter eel. There should be a good 85 to 90 pieces. Jellied eels. So this is the finished product.
And that's it. Now it's nice and solid.
So now you've got the solid gelatin texture. A consumer would take the pieces out, and now you've got the jelly.
Ooh. So normally do you eat it like this? Oh,
Most people would eat them. I mean, we've just taken this out of the fridge, so it's going to be extremely cold.
Cool.
But it's better when the jelly becomes a little bit more room temperature and not too floppy. But eating wise, that's the piece of eel.
Whoa. And that's the bone there, huh?
That's the
Yes,
bone.
yeah.
That's left. You've got the saltiness in the jelly, and you've got the texture of the fish. If you wanted to try this clean spoon there, it does get a bit messy with the gelatine. I'll leave you with that.
All right. Which one should I have? Should I have
Oh,
the
they're
one
all-
that's
they're all
open
good.
or the one from
The open
back?
piece is good.
This one? Oh, there's a lot of gelatin.
You
Huh?
can knock some of the jelly off. Some people don't always like the flavour. And being it's cold, as I said, it's just come straight out of the fridge,
Yeah.
so it's cold.
All right, let me get the bone. Right. It's good.
Yes?
I don't mind the jelly.
Get
I
the
actually like it.
saltiness in the jelly.
Yeah. I like the saltiness of the
Yeah.
jelly with the fish.
Yeah.
I think they go
Very
very
well.
well together, yeah. The fish is nice, as you said.
The
Nice
eel is
meaty texture, yeah.
it's a lost thing. People don't always want to eat eel, but it's.
I mean, this gives it a bit more character, I
does,
think.
yeah.
Just the eel itself is like just.
and you can imagine
fish,
this.
yeah.
You know, if you're out enjoying yourself and not in a factory environment, these are quite nice. And
Yeah, it's a
if you're having
nice
a drink
snack.
as well, it's a nice snack,
Yeah.
or a meal even. You know.
So do you think it is better like this than with like vinegar or just
With some,
something on top?
I mean, we've got some non-brewed vinegar. If you'd like to try another piece with some vinegar on, would you like to try that?
Okay.
Yeah. So people would just do that.
Yeah. Yay. Why not? Yeah, it's good. It's more salty now. But yeah, you still get the freshness of the jelly and the fish. If you think that fish and chips is the most, has to the test of time. Fish dish. It's just a lot of ish. The dish has to the taste of time. The test. But
Takes the time.